Okay, wait. I oh man. I think I'm live. Yeah. Wait, I'm alive. Wait, what's happened with this? Okay. Boom. Okay. I think I'm live. Maybe. 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 I'm live. I'm live. Okay, I am yes. I am live. Yippee. Okay. Wait, if I do that. Okay. Is it is it working? Is it is it working? Yeah, okay. It's working. Uh we're gonna be watching his story and stuff, and we're gonna see um if I can laugh. And if I laugh, then the stream ends. Ooh, that's crazy. I know, that's pretty insane. So yeah. Anybody who subscribes, it's a shout out. Um, yeah. And let's just watch it.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we learned Morse code. We tapped messages under the dinner table when Mom told us to stop talking, and tapped through the wall between our bedrooms every night. When Chris got into
Wait, tap through the walls. That's pretty crazy. If I'd say so. I'd say so. Wait.
a car accident and the doctors
Wait.
a car accident and the doctors
Okay. My live does work. My live does work.
said he'd never wake up. I pulled up a chair next to his bed, took his hand, and tapped. Are you there? Nothing. But I came back the next afternoon and tapped again. Before I left, I always said the same thing. See you tomorrow, Chris. A week later, Chris's fingers twitched against mine, and I
twitched? Oh my god, that's crazy.
I almost fell out of my chair. I grabbed a nurse and she barely looked up. They're reflexes. It doesn't mean anything. I bought a notebook the next day and started writing
Why would you buy a notebook? That's not gonna do anything.
down every single one. 4 months in, Mom watched me scribbling and said, "How long are you gonna keep doing this? Until he taps back." He's not gonna tap back. You're talking to
He will tap back though, that's the thing. That's the thing.
a corpse. Dad lasted a few more months before he pulled me into the hallway. We need to talk about donating your brother's organs. His
No, you can't do that.
fingers move every time I hold his hand, Dad. The nurses said those are reflexes. Stop getting your hopes up, son. I don't care what the nurses say. You're not donating my brother's organs. But a week later, my parents called to have Chris transferred to a long-term facility to die and scheduled a meeting to sign the papers. The afternoon before the meeting, I tapped into his palm like always, but this time, something tapped back. Short, short, short. Long, long, long. Short, short, short. SOS. I grabbed his hand. Chris, if that's you, squeeze once. He squeezed so hard my knuckles cracked. I stormed into the meeting room and told them my brother just responded to me. The caseworker said, "This is very common with families who aren't ready to let go." My parents nodded. I grabbed the transfer papers off the table. "You're not signing anything until you come see for yourself." I walked them to Chris's bed and grabbed his hand. "Ask him anything." The caseworker asked what year it was. Chris squeezed out the answer. Count to 5. 5 perfect squeezes. His mother's name, tapped out letter by letter. By the 10th question, she said, "He's still alive. We can't move him." Weeks later, I asked Chris what kept him fighting when everyone gave up. Heard Mom call me a corpse. Heard Dad say donate my organs. Heard all of them leave, except you. I asked why. I wanted to see you too. My twin brother Chris and I
Yeah. Wait. I'm still live, right? Maybe I need to change the title. Or no. The hashtags. That might be it. That's definitely it. I need to change the hashtags on the live stream. In the middle, we'll
My daughter came home crying with an F because her teacher doesn't know what color blood is. The first time I realized something was wrong, Riley came home from school holding out her arm. "Look, Dad, you can see the blue blood in my veins right here." She traced the blue lines under her skin with her finger. I put down my coffee and looked at her. "Actually, sweetheart, that's not true. Blood is always red because of hemoglobin. It's just darker red in your veins." Her face scrunched up, but Mrs. Miller showed us a whole PowerPoint about it. She even had diagrams from a science book. The next morning, I packed my work scrubs in my bag. I'm an ER nurse at Mercy General, and I was working the afternoon shift anyway. I sent Mrs. Miller an email asking if I could do a quick presentation about blood for career day that afternoon. She loved the idea. When I arrived, Mrs. Miller introduced me as Riley's dad who works at the hospital.
That's Riley's
28
dad.
kids stared up.
No, don't let. His story. Okay.
Up at me from their desks. I heard you guys learned that blood is blue inside your body, I said. The entire class nodded enthusiastically. Mrs. Miller beamed from her desk in the corner. I pulled out a blood collection tube from my pocket and held it up. This is what we use to draw blood at the hospital. Notice something. The tube creates a vacuum. No oxygen inside at all. I paused. The flight attendant slipped me a napkin that said, "The pilot isn't who he says he is. Meet me in the back to talk." I knew she chose to tell me because of the military dog tags around my neck. I folded the napkin and slid it into my pocket, and that's when the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good morning, folks. This is Captain Hopkins, expecting smooth skies to Chicago." But something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I waited 2 minutes and casually walked to the back, not knowing what to expect. The flight attendant was there with a man holding up a police badge. The man whispered, "I'm glad you're here. I'm an undercover cop." I knew something was wrong straight away. The flight attendant whispered, "I've flown with Captain Hopkins for 6 years. I don't exactly know what's wrong, but I know that's not Hopkins, and we're flying the wrong way." She showed me the flight map of where we were heading. The plane is heading toward an abandoned airport. I leaned over the map. My body was pumping with adrenaline because it was the perfect place to crash a plane. There's an empty space above the pilot's room. I can climb up and listen to what the pilot and co-pilot are planning through the ceiling. Take my number. If you can tell there's something fishy going on, text me one word, now. That's the signal to move. And to distract everyone while I climbed above the ceiling, the flight attendant made an announcement on the speakers to tell everyone to keep their seatbelts on. Through the cracks, I could hear 2 men in the pilot's room talking. 15 years ago today, our brother died because of Captain Hopkins. Now we get to crash his plane with him tied up on it while we impersonate him. I texted the undercover cop. Now, the cart slammed into the pilot's room door, and the cop kicked it open. I dropped through the ceiling and tackled the fake pilot out of his seat. The cop pinned the co-pilot to the floor. The flight attendant grabbed the radio. "Mayday, our pilot is gone. We need help landing right now." She looked at me. "Find Hopkins, the actual pilot. He has to be on this plane somewhere." I sprinted to the back of the plane, checking every door. I yanked open the closet next to the bathrooms, and Captain Hopkins was inside with his hands tied and tape across his mouth. I ripped the tape off. "Get me to the controls." He ran to the front and dropped into the pilot's chair. He grabbed the wheel. "Tower, this is the real Captain Hopkins. I'm landing this plane." When we finally landed, the cops dragged the brothers off in handcuffs. The flight attendant came up to me in the aisle. I pulled the napkin out of my pocket and held it up. "You saved 200 lives with this." She smiled and took it back. The flight attendant slipped me a napkin that said, "Every time we heard a knock on the front door, my dad would yell, 'Stealth mode,' and we had 30 seconds to kill every light in the house. My brother and I would race through the rooms, flipping switches, yanking cords, shutting off the TV mid-show, while some guy outside banged on the front door yelling, 'I know you're in there, buddy.' Dad timed us. Once everything was dark, no talking, no moving, no looking out the windows. We'd sit there until Dad did his owl hoot, which meant all clear. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes almost an hour. Afterwards, he'd high-five us and go, 'Real ninjas couldn't do better.' He told us stealth mode was top secret. Never tell your teachers, your friends, nobody. Other people wouldn't understand. For years, I believed him. When I was 8, I asked Dad why we had to hide so much. He said some annoying guy kept bothering our family, and stealth mode was how we dealt with him. I felt proud we had a secret skill that could outsmart bad guys. By the time I was 10, I heard the voice outside yell something about a bet and $20. I tugged Dad's sleeve and whispered, 'Is the bad guy trying to steal our money?' Dad shushed me so hard I flinched. When I was 12, I broke the window rule, peeked through the blinds, and saw a completely normal guy in a polo shirt standing on the porch rubbing his forehead. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like someone's tired uncle. At 13, I told Dad I was just going to open the door and tell the guy to leave us alone. The color left his face. "You absolutely cannot do that." That was the first time stealth mode didn't feel like a game. By 15 or 16, it barely happened anymore. But when it did, Dad would peek through the blinds looking guilty. Mom just shook her head from the couch and muttered something under her breath. I was 17 and home alone when I heard it. "I know you're in there. It's been 12 years, man." I opened the front door. The guy nearly fell backwards. Normal-looking dude, middle-aged, holding a crumpled piece of paper. "Oh, hi. Is your dad home? I'm his old college roommate." He held up the paper. "Your old man bet me $20 Michael Jordan wouldn't win his 6th ring. That was 1998. I've been knocking on this door ever since." He handed me the IOU, both their signatures, right there at the bottom. I left it on the kitchen table. Mom saw it first and laughed so hard she had to hold the counter. Dad picked it up, read it, put it back down, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "So now he knows someone's home." Then he turned off the kitchen light and got under the table. We were never in danger. My dad just lost a bet because of the greatest of all time. Every time we heard a knock on
crazy.
When I
That's
saw
$20. Ooh.
Kimberly walking out of the boys' bathroom, I asked, "What were you doing in there?" She instantly froze. "I wasn't. I just accidentally went through the wrong door." But I knew that wasn't the truth. I was about to open it when she grabbed my arm. "No, don't. You can't go in there." And before I could even ask her why, I heard someone crying. "What was that?" "I don't know. Maybe it's best if we don't go in there." But I pushed the door open as she said, "No." Someone whispered, "Is someone there? Please help me." I pushed open the stall door and saw Leslie Reddick sitting on the floor holding a bunch of towels. I gasped, realizing she was pregnant and her water broke. Dad measured me for the 5th time that day and screamed, "Why are you still 5'10"? I stared down at my 5'3" dad, and he glared, "Stop looking down at me. No son of mine will ever look down on me. We're going to fix this before it's too..."
Well, he's short, so it's like, can't do anything.
Late. And so the next day, Dad came into my room with x-rays of my legs marked with red X's saying, "I found a surgeon who will remove these bones so that you can finally be shorter than me. I already scheduled the surgery." I stared in horror while Dad jumped around saying he couldn't wait to be taller than me. I knew I had to make the surgery impossible, so I started running 26 miles non-stop, and even though it hurt, I kept going until my legs gave out because I needed my bones to be so damaged they couldn't operate on me. And then on the day of my scheduled surgery, the doctor took one look at x-rays of my damaged legs and refused to operate on me. Dad got angry. "Why? He's perfectly fine." But the surgeon shook his head and pointed at the x-ray. "His bones are too damaged. If I cut into them, they could shatter, and a shard of bone could hit his heart. Your son could die." Dad crossed his arms. "I'm okay taking that risk. Just do it so he can be shorter than me." But the doctor kept saying no, and I thought it was finally over.
He won't die.
But when we got home, Dad grabbed his toolbox and said, "If a surgeon isn't going to fix this, then I'll do it myself."
No,
he chased me around the house screaming, "Get back here! You will be shorter than me!" I ran outside across the yard, and that's when Dad's foot got caught on the garden hose, and he fell down hard, and I saw both his legs were bent the wrong way. Dad screamed, and I called the ambulance, and when they arrived, paramedics loaded him onto a stretcher while one of them questioned me. "How do you know this man?" he asked. When I said he was my dad, his eyes bulged, and he looked back and forth between my dad and me, and then suddenly asked, "How is he your dad? He's so short." Dad thrashed so hard in the stretcher when he heard a paramedic had to sedate him. Dad measured me for the 5th time that day and screamed, "Why are you still 5'10"? After 8 years on death row, I was ready to die. They said I killed Rebecca. My fingerprints
He killed someone.
were on the knife. My blood was at the...
Why? No one's here yet. That's not very nice. I think somebody should be here by now, actually. No one's here, bro.
The scene. I told them I didn't do it, but nobody believed me. I spent years fighting, filed every appeal, exposed every contradiction in the evidence. None of it mattered. My lawyer stopped returning my calls. My appeals were exhausted. My family stopped visiting 2 years ago. Even my own mother thought I did it. The only person who ever believed me was my grandmother, and she passed away 5 years ago. So when they asked what I wanted for my last meal, I thought of her. Her meatloaf, the one she made me every birthday. I wrote out her recipe from memory, every measurement and technique precise. An hour later, the prison chef showed up at my cell holding my form. "What is this? Meat..."
So, basically, I'm doing, if, I laugh, then I'm ending the stream.
This is a novel, not a
so
recipe.
yeah.
Ground beef 60%, ground pork 40, breadcrumbs soaked in whole milk for exactly 10 minutes, yellow onion, not white, sautéed in butter until translucent, fresh thyme, not dried, Worcestershire, 2 tablespoons, no substitute.
That's a big recipe.
And this glaze with brown sugar and apple cider vinegar, brushed on at 340 degrees, 20 minutes before...
Why has everybody left again? No.
We're done. He looked at me through the bars. "Why so specific? It's how my grandmother made it. She's gone now. If I'm going to die Friday, I want to taste her cooking one last time." He was quiet for a moment. "Some of these ingredients we don't stock. Fresh thyme, whole milk, real butter. I'll have to special order them. I have 48 hours. He sighed. "I'll make it exactly how you wrote it." Thursday morning, the ingredients arrived and the chef started cooking. I could smell it from my cell an hour later. Onions sautéing in butter. Grandma's kitchen. Saturday mornings, her humming while she cooked. I sat on my bunk and cried for the first time in 8 years. Thursday afternoon, the chef ran into problems. The oven temperature wouldn't hold.
Where there's people working outside.
Steady. He had to recalibrate, start over on the glaze twice. It has to be perfect, he told the warden. It's his last meal. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. Not from fear, from the smell. The meatloaf baking through the night while I sat alone with memories of the only person who believed I was innocent. Friday, execution day. 10 a.m. and no meal yet. Noon and the chef said the glaze wasn't right. 2 p.m. a guard brought regular prison lunch because the meatloaf still wasn't ready. 4 p.m. 2 hours left. The smell was overwhelming. Guards kept walking past the kitchen just to breathe it in. 5 p.m. the warden came to my cell. Your meal isn't ready. We're delaying the execution 2 hours. 6 p.m. came and went. The original execution time. I was still alive, waiting for meatloaf. 7:30. The chef finally appeared with a covered plate. He looked exhausted. He uncovered it, and the meatloaf looked exactly like my grandmother's. I ate slowly, savored every bite. Perfect. I finished the last bite at 7:51. 9 minutes left. The guard opened my cell. Time to go, Preston. They walked me down the hallway past other cells. Inmates were silent. They always were during execution walks. We reached the preparation room. The chaplain asked if I wanted to pray. I said no. 7:55. 5 minutes. They started walking me toward the chamber. That's when the warden's phone rang. He answered and his face changed. Stop. Everyone stop moving. What's happening? Rebecca's ex-boyfriend just confessed to her murder. You're innocent. My legs gave out. A guard caught me. The chef appeared in the hallway out of breath. He slid down the wall and sat next to me. If that meatloaf had been ready on time, you'd already be gone. I just sat there, still alive. Because my grandmother's recipe was too complicated to rush. She saved my life. She always did. After 8 years on death row, I was ready to die. They said I killed Rebecca. My fingerprints were on the knife.
Damn, that's pretty insane. So he wasn't the murderer the entire time. Okay.
Blood was at the scene. I told them I didn't do it, but nobody believed me. I spent years fighting, filed every appeal, exposed every... A man climbed onto our school bus with the knife, and the first thing he heard was a slow clap from the back row. Confused, he screamed at our driver, Mrs. Worley, to keep driving and not stop for anyone. A kid leaned forward. Nice ski mask. Did you cut the holes out yourself, or did your mommy help you? The whole bus laughed. He waved the knife around. Shut up and no one gets hurt. Your hand is shaking so hard I can't tell if that's a threat or a dance move. He stepped toward the kid who said it, and 20 voices started talking at once. Oh, he's walking now. Everybody watch out. He spun around trying to find who said what, but insults were coming from every direction. Bro seriously hijacked a bus with no plan, no...
He's getting cooked.
Getaway car, and a Walmart knife. This is the saddest crime I've ever seen. We wouldn't let him finish a single sentence. Are you robbing us for money? All I have is an EBT card and a bus pass. He pointed his knife at Mrs. Worley, and the whole bus went silent. A kid stood up. You can threaten us all you want, but if you point that thing at Mrs. Worley again, we're gonna have a real different conversation. He laughed nervously and asked what a bunch of kids were going to do about it. A girl said, we're on the bus to the school for troubled teens. Half of us are here for assault, and the other half won't say why. Mrs. Worley looked at him over her shoulder. Honey, I've watched these kids make grown men cry over smaller things than pointing a knife at me. He lowered the knife. Smart choice. She brings us donuts on Fridays. We protect what matters. His face twisted.
That's pretty tough. It's like, yeah. He's like, made them like, yeah. Yeah.
And he shoved toward the kid with the knife raised. Mrs. Worley pulled over, stood up, and stepped between them. That's enough now. He grabbed her arm and shoved her into the dashboard. For half a second, the bus was completely silent. Then a kid came over the seats like something feral, and 3 others were right behind him. The guy didn't have time to turn around before someone hit him in the back of the knees and he went down. The knife skittered under the seats, and kids were on top of him before he could reach for it. Someone had him in a headlock while someone else pinned his arms. A girl sat on his legs and went through his pockets just to add insult to injury. Mrs. Worley pressed the emergency button. I need police at my location. Tell them there's no rush. The situation is handled. The guy was crying. Please get off me. I can't breathe. A kid leaned close to his face. You should have thought about that before you touched Mrs. Worley. When the cops showed up, they found him tied to a seat with shoelaces and snot running down his face. A man climbed onto our school. My teacher...
He got cooked by a bunch of people from school.
looked at my drawing, covered her mouth, and ran out of the room screaming. Our assignment was to draw something that makes us happy, so I drew me and my dad fishing at the lake, something we do every Saturday. I picked up my paper to see what she saw. 2 stick figures, a fishing rod, a lake, a building that said Larry's Bait and Tackle, and a fish that I even labeled fish in case there was any confusion. I had no idea what I did wrong. She came back with 2 security guards, still screaming, grabbed my drawing off my desk, and pointed at me like I was dangerous. They walked me out without saying a word and sat me down in Principal Carter's office. He had my drawing under a desk lamp like he was examining a ransom note. He looked up. "Explain this." I told him it's me and my dad fishing at the lake. He pointed at my stick figure's hand. "You're telling me this is a fishing rod when I'm looking at a weapon." I told him there's a line coming off it with a fish on the end, and I literally wrote the word fish next to it. Mrs. Keller leaned in. "It looks like he's aiming at the building." I told her it's Larry's Bait and Tackle where we buy worms, and he's facing the water because that's where fish live, and that's how fishing works.
These teachers are so stupid.
Didn't understand how every adult in the room was looking at a fish and seeing a threat. Principal Carter picked up his phone and called my dad. "Mr. Davis, your son drew an image that appears to depict a school shooting. We need you here immediately." I sat there staring at my drawing, wondering how I ended up here. My dad showed up still in his work shirt with dirt on his hands and stopped in the doorway. "Where is he? What did he draw?" Principal Carter slid the drawing across the desk, and my dad picked it up, stared at it, and laughed. Not a chuckle, a full laugh. "This is from last Saturday." He pulled out his phone, turned it around, and the photo was right there. Me standing in front of Larry's Bait and Tackle holding my fishing rod. Same building, same rod, same everything. He looked at the principal. "Is everyone in this room slow? My son drew a fish, labeled it fish, drew a fishing rod, drew a bait shop, and you looked at that and saw a school shooting."
This guy has, like, common sense. The other teachers are just, they're supposed to be teachers. They're supposed to be not dumb. Like, if this was real, like, they need to be fired.
Nobody said anything. "You pulled my son out of class and called me at work because not one adult in this building stopped and said, 'Hey, maybe that's a fishing rod.'" Mrs. Keller stared at the floor, and Principal Carter had nothing. My dad put the drawing in his pocket. "We're done here. Let's go." Next art class, I drew Mrs. Keller and labeled it Donkey in case there was any confusion. My teacher looked at my drawing, covered her mouth, and ran out of the room screaming. Our assignment was to draw something that makes us happy, so I drew me and my dad fishing at the lake, something.
Damn.
I handed my son a ball of garbage on his 9th birthday.
Yo.
I became my school's hero for 1 minute before everyone watched what happened next. I don't play around when it comes to Halloween, so during our school's Halloween dance, I dressed up in real firefighter gear from my dad's closet. Real jacket, real boots, real helmet. I strutted around the gym like I owned the place, until the fog machine popped like a toaster and the fire alarm went off. Everyone cheered thinking it was part of the show until I smelled burnt plastic. Teachers started waving their arms, telling everyone to stay calm, but I noticed the orange extension cord powering the machine didn't stop at the wall. It ran out the side doors and down the hallway toward the science wing. Then someone near the door yelled, "Smoke in the hallway," and teachers started shouting for everyone to evacuate. Real sirens started wailing outside and fire trucks pulled up. The crowd poured into.
Wait, are comments on this? Because if comments are off, I'm so stupid. I bet you comments are off, aren't they? No, they're on. What if I, oh wait, what if I do this? Okay, save. Oh crap, wait. Oh, I don't have his story on. Wait. Wait. Where is his story? His story. Boom, boom. His story. Boom. Okay. And then I get this. And then I get boom. Yo. What? Oh, wait. Oh. Hold up. Okay, there we go. That's fixed. Window capture. Boom. Shorts. Popular.
In the middle of a test, the sprinklers started spraying. Everyone instantly screamed, "Ah!" But I realized it wasn't water spraying on us. Someone yelled, "What is this? What is on us?" We all tried to stand up and run, but everyone was slipping. The alarm blared, and the principal yelled on the speaker, "Everyone needs to get out of the building immediately. There is an active threat inside." But just before we could get out, our teacher stepped in the way. He said, "Wait, I think I just saw the threat out there." But the hall was empty. "There's nobody out there. Let us out." I tried to grab the handle, but he slapped my hand. "No, nobody's leaving." Everyone was coughing, and that's when I realized I liked the smell. Oh my God, it was gasoline. Half the class rushed over to the windows, but we couldn't just jump out because we were on the 3rd floor. Stacy yelled, "Please, let us out. We have to make a run for it." But he just stood there. He just said, 30 more seconds. Everyone was confused. "What? We need to go. We'll die from the fumes." But he just smiled. 20. "What if a fire starts? We'll all burn." 10 seconds. A girl yelled, "Ah, it's in my eyes. I can't see." It was complete chaos until our teacher reached for the lock. He turned it. The door clicked open and someone walked in. "Thanks for letting me in, Dad." Stacy yelled, "Dad, you have a son." They both turned around, locking eyes straight onto me. We all started backing up, and when I saw the guy's face, my heart sank. I recognized him. He pointed straight at me and said, You put me in jail for 5 years. Now it's finally time to get revenge." I couldn't believe my eyes. This was the same guy I had called the police on 5 years ago. He had tried to rob my grandma at gunpoint and had been waiting to get me back. We watched him pull something out of his pocket and hold it up, and we saw it was—
The thing is, how would he recognize him after 5 years? Because he would have grown and they still look like a 2-year-old.
the Bic lighter. Everyone started panicking because one tiny flame and we'd all immediately burn. I yelled, "No, please, you'll kill us all." He just smiled. He started flicking and we all yelled, "Stop, please, we'll all die." He flicked over and over and I knew I had to stop him before it worked. "Please, my grandma was all I had. I didn't mean to make you suffer." And when I said that, I saw our teacher look at me, but he looked upset. We were all crying, and I saw him really looking at his son like he didn't know who he was. Flick, flick. Then finally, it caught a flame. He held it up, but I saw our teacher pick up the fire extinguisher from the wall. I knew there was no way that tiny thing would save us from the fire, but his son said, "This is for what you did, for putting me in prison with those diddlers. Say goodbye." But right before he dropped the lighter, our teacher raised the fire extinguisher, and in one moment, he slammed it down on his son's head hard. His son instantly fell over, and our teacher stood there panting. He was crying. "I'm so sorry. I failed all of you. My son was a monster." The police ran in and grabbed him, and he looked at me one more time with tears in his eyes as they took him out. In the middle of a test, the sprinkler—
him right. Like what? Yo, why is nobody watching the stream? Oh my god, I have a chance! Oh, but he's like a big stream. Okay.
started spraying. Everyone instantly screamed, "Ah!" But I realized it wasn't water spraying on us. Someone yelled, "What is this? What is on us?" We all tried to stand up and run. I climbed into my bed with a grin, feeling my jeans press against the duvet covers. My dad came over and leaned against my door. "I'm sorry I said no to you going to the party, son, but I know the kids there. It's too dangerous." He walked back to his room, and I instantly got up from the covers. I laced up my Jordans and climbed out my window the second I heard snoring. I walked into that party and was immediately surrounded by college kids twice my size. I grabbed a red cup and filled it with juice to fit in, then pulled out my phone to take pictures so I could show everyone how cool I was. Then I heard yelling in the backyard. I walked over with loose legs to seem nonchalant and saw two people punching each other. I put my hands up and yelled, "Fight," like everyone else, but then a gunshot rang out, then another one. The music stopped and everyone started running. I got knocked to the floor and dozens of feet instantly stampeded me, stepping on my head, my fingers and my legs. My red cup spilled and ruined my Jordans as more gun I was in the mall with my daughter when 3 teenagers in black hoodies started following us. I'm a retired cop who used to bust gangs for a living, so I knew a threat when I saw one. I glanced back and saw the guy in front had a gun print showing through his hoodie. My daughter was smiling at her phone while texting, completely oblivious to what was going on. My hand moved to my hip to feel for my own gun. My heart dropped. It wasn't there. We were defenseless. I needed to get my daughter Aaliyah to leave without telling her about the guy with the gun. Let's get back to the car. We can come back another day. She looked at me confused. No way, Dad. We just got here. Let me check this store real quick. I glanced. I was watching the New Year's fireworks exploding while my dog sat calmly beside me. Gringo did 2 years in Iraq with me and wasn't scared of loud noises, but then a lit firework came flying straight at us. I scrambled to get Gringo, but I wasn't fast enough. The firework went off near his leg, and Gringo immediately yelped. When I looked over, a punk teenager was staring at us and smirking from the pavement.
Like, no offense, but like he's like a bad person.
Pavement. Maybe now that dog will finally start being scared of my fireworks. I balled my fist as I wanted to lay him out, but I couldn't hit a teenager. I drove Gringo to the hospital as he sat silently shaking in my car, quiet despite the terrible pain. The vet told me they'd have to amputate his leg. Gringo rolled home with me in a dog wheelchair for his back legs. The teenager stood right there with more fireworks in hand. Every day for the next 2 weeks, he set them off when me and Gringo walked outside. I gripped my head in horror because Gringo had started shaking and being afraid, something 2 years in Iraq never even did to him. I watched the punk bring a box of fireworks into his shed and knew I had to act. I called Hughes, the bomb diffuser I served with, and that night we were in the shed rigging his fireworks. We walked to his door and saw him through the window throwing darts at a board full of pictures of dogs. We rang and he opened. "Are you here to beg me to stop with the fireworks? Your dog can't take much more." He laughed, but then Hughes held up a sole firework. He stuck it to the punk's head. I was sitting in class when my phone buzzed. "Look under your desk." Same text. The whole class bent down at the same time. Taped underneath each desk was an envelope with our name on it. I ripped mine open and a Polaroid slid out. A blood splatter on white tile. I knocked out the smallest, weakest kid in school. While I was bench pressing, he cracked my ribs with a 5-pound dumbbell. I woke up at a sleepover and realized I had 2 hours to save my entire reputation before anyone else woke up. I reached down and touched the fabric and realized I had wet the bed. I lay there completely still.
Bro, he might just be cooked.
Listening to 4 other guys breathing around me in the dark. It was 5 a.m. If anyone woke up before I fixed this, I would have to switch schools. My backpack was next to the couch. I got to it on my hands and knees, moving so slow my arms started shaking, and unzipped it 1 inch at a time. I pulled out my backup pajamas, and then Brandon sat straight up, not rolled over, sat up. I froze with the backpack pressed to my chest. He swung his legs off the couch, stood up, and walked right past me. His foot landed maybe 4 inches from my hand. I didn't breathe. He kept walking, opened the bathroom door, and I heard him pee for what felt like a year. I finally heard his footsteps coming back. I stared at the carpet and prayed he wouldn't look down. He didn't. He flopped back onto the couch, and within 30 seconds he was snoring again. I sat there shaking for a full minute before I could move. I tiptoed to the bathroom, changed into my backup pajamas, and stuffed the wet clothes into a plastic grocery bag from under the sink. Back in the living room, I grabbed the sleeping bag from the bottom and started dragging it toward the hallway. It made a soft shushing sound across the carpet, and I stopped every 2 seconds, certain someone had heard. Halfway across the room, Josh's phone lit up right next to his head, making his whole face blue. I froze again. He muttered something, rolled over, and the screen went dark. I waited a full minute before I moved another inch. I got the sleeping bag into the laundry room, stuffed it into the machine with the grocery bag of wet clothes, and turned the dial as slow as I could. The click sounded like a door slamming. I turned it 1 more notch, and the machine started filling with water, and I exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. Then the hallway light came on. Josh's mom was standing at the other end of the hall in a robe, arms crossed, looking right at me. I opened my mouth. I spilled milk on my sleeping bag and didn't want it to sit overnight and smell. She didn't say anything for a long second. She just looked at me. Then she walked past me into the laundry room, opened the cabinet above the machine, pulled down a bottle of detergent I hadn't seen, and set it on top of the dryer. "Use this one," she said. "It works better on accidents." Then she pointed at a closet behind me and said there was an extra blanket in there, turned off the light, and went back to her room. I poured the detergent in. I got the blanket, went back to the living room, and laid down. Brandon was on his back snoring. Josh hadn't moved. Only one person knew, and she wasn't going to say a word. I woke up at a sleepover.
Well, not that he peed, but like the mum was.
And realized I had 2 hours to save I was stopped at a red light when headlights flashed across my mirror and everything went sideways. The airbag slammed my head back and guacamole from my DoorDash order flew everywhere. I couldn't hear anything except ringing. I crawled out through the passenger side, tried to stand, and my legs gave out. I'm on my hands and knees on the pavement when I hear, "Bro, what the hell? My brand new car. I just got it yesterday." An orange Hellcat was sitting sideways in the intersection.
It's on fire.
With smoke coming off the tires. Some kid was standing over me screaming, "Why'd you reverse into me?" I looked up at him from the ground. "I can't feel my legs." "I don't care about your legs. Look what you did to my car." He pulled out his phone and started filming his Hellcat without even glancing at me or my flipped car. "My dad's a lawyer, so you're either gonna pay for my car or we're gonna bury you." I couldn't even stand up, and this kid was threatening to sue me. Cops showed up 10 minutes later, and the kid completely transformed, limping and holding his neck. He told the officer I reversed into his Hellcat for no reason. The cop took one look at my Corolla on its side next to the brand new Hellcat and didn't even ask for my side. He gave me the ticket and left. I'm sitting on the curb holding my legs when a second cruiser pulled up. The kid saw it and started limping again. The door opened and I heard, "Oh hell no." It was my dad's buddy from the neighborhood. He'd been on patrol and heard the call. He crouched down next to me. "Tell me everything." I told him what happened. He looked at both cars and shook his head. "I believe you, but without proof there's nothing I can do. Is there anything, any witness, any camera, anything?" I almost said no. Then I looked at my Corolla and saw it through the cracked windshield. The dash cam I installed 6 months ago to catch DoorDash scammers. Still mounted to the dash, right where I left it. Actually, yeah, I do. He watched me crawl over to my car, reach through the broken window, and pull out the SD card. He plugged it into his laptop in the cruiser. 30 seconds of footage. My car sitting still at a red light. The Hellcat spinning out of a dealership. The kid laughing right before he slammed into me. Everything the kid told the first cop was a lie, and now we both knew it. He stepped out of the cruiser, walked straight to the kid, and got in his face. "You want to tell me what really happened?" The kid backed up a full step. His fake limp was gone. He looked over at me, then back at the cop standing 6 inches from his nose. "You filed a false report, and that limp you walked in with healed up real quick." The kid started stammering. "My dad's a lawyer. You can't just call him. You're gonna need one." He was right. I ended up settling for enough money to buy 5 Hellcats thanks to a $30 dash cam. I was stopped at a red light when a woman in Target told me to take off my hoodie and give.
Damn. I mean, you shouldn't have lied like that, but like, I don't know, bro. I mean, he made a lot
to
of
her
money out of
son.
it,
I was in the
so-
checkout line wearing my Minecraft hoodie when a kid ran over and said, "Mom, that's Minecraft, I want it." She walked over, looked me up and down, and said, "Give it to my son." I told her no, and that my little brother gave it to me before he passed away. She didn't even blink. "I don't care. You're a grown man wearing a kid's video game. Give it to my son. He'd actually appreciate it." I almost laughed. "I'm not giving you my hoodie." She didn't move. "Just hand it over, and I'll pay you $10 for it. I just told you my brother gave me this before he died. It's not for sale." She rolled her eyes. $20, final offer. I said no and tried to step around her, but she grabbed the bottom of my hoodie and pulled. I yanked it back and held it against my chest. "Don't touch me." Everyone in line went quiet. She turned around and screamed for the manager. "This man has been bothering my son since we got in line. He keeps showing off his shirt trying to get my kid's attention. I want him removed." Her son was standing right there looking confused. The manager walked over, and before I could say a word, she pointed at me. "He's harassing my child. Check the cameras if you don't believe me." So he did. The manager came back with a security guard and walked right past me and stopped in front of her. "Ma'am, the camera shows you approaching this customer, grabbing his clothing, and causing a disturbance. He
I mean, that is true. That is true.
never touched or spoke to your child." She didn't say anything. "We're going to need you to leave the store." She started yelling that the footage was wrong and that I started it, but the security guard was already walking her toward the door. She tripped over the curb on the way out and ate concrete. Her son looked down at her and said, "Mom, I didn't ask you to do all that." The cashier rang up my groceries, looked at my hoodie, and said, "Cool shirt, by the way." I looked down at the little creeper face on the sleeve, and for a second, I could hear my brother laughing at the whole thing. "Thanks," I said. "It's my favorite." A woman in Target told me to take off my hoodie and give it to her son. I was in the checkout line wearing my Minecraft hoodie when a kid ran over and said, "Mom, that's Minecraft, I want it." She walked over, looked me up and down, and said, "Give it to my son." I told her no, and that my little brother gave it to me before he passed away. She didn't even blink. "I don't care. You're a grown man wearing a kid's video game. Give it to my son. He'd actually appreciate it." I almost laughed. "I'm not giving you my hoodie." She didn't move. "Just hand it over, and I'll pay you $10 for it. I just told you my brother gave me this before he died. It's not for sale." She rolled her eyes. $20, final.
Okay, just pretty crazy.
My neighbor.
Wait, he's the enemy.
Kept destroying our snowmen, so I made sure the next one fought back. We'd spent the whole day building an 8-foot snowman, and it was just getting dark when I saw the headlights turn onto our street. The truck plowed straight through it, and snow exploded everywhere. My youngest was standing next to me and started crying.
Wait, is anybody here though? Yeah, somebody's
I didn't know how to tell him that some people were just mean, so I pointed at the... I got banned from an all-you-can-eat buffet, so I made sure the owner never forgot my face. I spent the whole day before starving myself on purpose. So when I walked into that buffet, I loaded my first plate so high, the server stopped and watched me carry it to my table. I could see the steam rising off the ribs as I sat down. I took my first bite and savored every second of it. That was just the start. Second plate, I went back for lasagna, mashed potatoes, and a pile of garlic bread. By my third plate, the servers started slowing down every time they walked past my table. One of them stopped and just stared at me like I was eating her groceries. By my fifth plate, I caught a tiny Asian man peeking out at me from behind the soda machine.
Yo, that's pretty insane.
Every few seconds. Plate 7. I stacked another round of ribs on my tray like building blocks and grabbed a handful of brownies from the kids section. That was it for him. He marched out from behind the machine with 2 workers behind him. Stop eating. You here since 4 o'clock. My cooks are crying. I pointed at the sign on the wall. It says all you can eat. He told me to get out. I stood up, walked right past him, and started making plate 8. He pulled out his phone and called the cops. I sat back down and kept eating. I was mid-bite with sauce dripping down my chin when 2 officers walked through the front door. Every head in the restaurant turned. The officers looked confused. What exactly did he do? The manager threw his hands in the air. This man eats 7 plate. 7! I call you 10 minutes ago, and he go back for more. One of the officers took off his hat and rubbed his whole face with his hand. Sir, could you just go, please? They walked me out. I still had food on my plate. The manager followed us to the door. You banned. Forever. I put your picture on the wall so nobody forget you face. So I got revenge. The next week I sat down at my kitchen table and designed a flyer. Free lobster tail night. First 100 guests eat free. I printed 200 copies and spent a whole afternoon sliding them under windshields all over town. That Friday night, I bought a box of ribs from the place across the street and sat on the hood of my car in his parking lot. By 6, the lot was full. By 7, people were lined up out the door waving flyers in the air demanding their free lobster. The manager came outside sweating through his shirt. I don't have lobster. This a buffet. What I look like Gordon Ramsay. A woman in the front started banging on the window. A man in the back yelled they weren't leaving until they got their lobster. Someone picked up a pile of dog poop off the ground and launched it right at his face. The manager was spinning in circles, screaming, and that's when he saw me. I held up a rib and took a bite. Delicious. I got banned from an all-you-can-eat
That's pretty cool.
buffet. My daughter was 10 months old when my teacher stormed into... I flipped the water bottle and watched it land, and the whole class went berserk. Our teacher had said if I got it 10 times in a row, there'd be no homework for midterm, and I only needed one more flip. Everyone gathered round, and I took a deep breath, swinging it precisely. It came off my hand perfectly and started rotating through the air as planned. I smiled because I was about to go down as class legend. But then I saw a hand fly through the air, and right as my bottle was about to land, the hand slapped it off course. The bottle flew into the wall and fell. I looked over to see who hit it and saw the teacher grinning ear to ear. Nobody cheats my class. We started protesting, but he shouted to sit down, and whoever doesn't sit in the next 5 seconds will get double the homework. He then went handing out the 5,000-word essay due in 7 days with a smile. Format your references as I asked, or you fail automatically. He sat at his desk and started flipping his own bottle to mock us. But that's when a kid from the back started laughing. The teacher leaned forward. What are you laughing at? But the kid just kept laughing and pointing behind him. The teacher started storming over, red in the face. What are you laughing at? But then suddenly he stopped, and his face changed color. The bottle I'd flipped was standing. Turns out when he'd hit it bounced off the wall straight on and fell down landing perfectly upright. I'd officially flipped it 10 times in a row, and he had no choice but to take the essays off our desks. His jaw was clenched the whole time. I flipped the water bottle and watched it land, and the whole class went berserk. Our teacher had said if I got it 10 times in a row, there'd be no homework for midterm. I took one puff of my inhaler and the alarm exploded. The bathroom door flew open and the vice principal snatched it out of my hand. "Give me that vape, you little criminal." "That's not a vape, it's my inhaler. I have asthma and I need it to breathe. Give it back." He pulled his hands back, dropped it into a plastic bag and sealed it. "Please." The nurse gave it to me. "I can't breathe without it." He just ignored me. "You can't even go 5 seconds without hitting a vape. What's wrong with your generation?" He tucked the bag under his arm, grabbed mine and pulled me into the hallway. I reached for the bag, but he yanked me forward. I grabbed his sleeve and tried to say, "I can't breathe," but nothing came out. He kept walking. My vision blurred. My knees hit the floor. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in the nurse's office with an oxygen mask on my face. I looked up and saw my mom holding my hand. Nurse Amy had her stethoscope on my chest and was whispering to my mom. "He's lucky he made it." My mom stood up and slammed her fists against the door. That's when the vice principal walked in, holding the Ziploc bag with my inhaler, like it was evidence. Well, well, well. Looks like the little criminal has woken up. "I can't believe you passed out because I didn't let you hit your vape." He looked at my mom and smiled. "You failed as a parent. You should be aware that your kid is doing drugs. Shame on you." My mom didn't say anything. She just
Shame on you. That's crazy.
raised her hand and slapped him. "You prick. I'm gonna sue you until you're left living under a bridge. You can't tell the difference between an inhaler and a vape? He almost died in your hallway." He folded his arms. "Our new alarm system flagged it. Are you saying you're smarter than our technology?" My mom walked us into his office and pointed at the bag on his desk. Nurse Amy stepped forward and held up her phone. "This is the approval I signed 2 years ago. I told you about it when you were hired." He looked past her at the monitor. "It detected chemical compounds. That's what it's there for." I reached across the desk for the bag. He slid it toward himself. My mom pressed both hands flat on his desk. "Pull up the sensor data, or I call the school board and they pull it up for you." He turned to the monitor and pulled up the sensor data. "See? Right there. Chemical compounds. Exactly what the system is designed to catch." Nurse Amy walked up to the screen and leaned in. She stepped back. "You confiscated albuterol sulfate. What is that?" "His rescue inhaler. The one I approved him to carry 2 years ago. The one that was keeping him alive." My mom grabbed the mouse and scrolled through the detection history. 17 alerts since the system was installed. All the same compound, same time, same bathroom, and not once did anyone check. My mom snatched the plastic bag off his desk, opened it, and handed me my inhaler. She looked him in the eye. "You trusted a machine over a child who couldn't breathe." I took a puff of my inhaler and told him this mango berry vape is amazing. I took one puff of my inhaler and the My grandfather hunted every weekend for 40 years and never came home with a single bird. The night after his funeral, the lawyer read out his will at the lodge while we passed plates of stew around the table. Whoever bagged a pheasant on Grandpa's land by sundown tomorrow inherited $8 million. 6 of
8 million!
my siblings stopped chewing. My eldest brother looked across the table at me and laughed. "You can sit this one out, sniper boy. Save the army stuff for somebody else's 8 million. I clicked the bolt back into my rifle without looking up. Dawn. The 8 of us spread out into Grandpa's woods. I had a clean line on a pheasant within 10 minutes. I let it walk. My eldest brother fired around what he was sure was a gun. It turned out to be a low branch. He spent the next 20 minutes searching the brush for the body. My sister waded into a creek up to her hip and screamed about her boots. 2 of my brothers crossed paths in a clearing, and one of them dove behind a stump yelling, "Friendly, friendly," while the other tried to figure out if his safety was on. The TikTok mom tried to film him slowly and running, tripped over the root, and then he hit his gun at his feet. I wasn't walking. I wasn't tracking him. I was looking Grandpa's old hunting hideout, still standing in the trees right where we left it. He'd built it the year I turned 10, and we'd sat in it together every November after that. The warped board he'd carved my initials into was still there. Tucked into the brush behind it was a pheasant nest with 3 eggs, same one as when I was a kid. I sat down on the bench and waited. The mother pheasant came back within 20 minutes and walked right past my boot. I didn't raise the rifle. I picked something up off the floor and put it in my pocket. By 4, the others were back at the lodge with empty bags. I walked up last. The lawyer asked if anyone had bagged a pheasant. Nobody answered. I opened my hand. 1 feather. Grandpa's blind. The pheasant behind it has been nesting there since I was 8. He never shot it. 40 years, he never shot anything. The lawyer reached into his coat and pulled out a second envelope. Your grandfather wasn't testing for the best shot. He was testing for the one of you who'd remember he was never a hunter. My grandfather hunted every... I saw a wasp climbing on my girlfriend's calf and immediately hit it with my sandal. Cynthia stood from the couch. "Babe, why the hell did you just hit me?" I scratched my head to think of a lie because she was deathly allergic to wasps and I didn't want to scare her. There was a fly on your leg." She turned to me. "So what? It doesn't mean you have to hit me." Before I could respond, I saw another wasp climbing on her arm and smacked it again. Where were they all coming from? Cynthia smacked my hands off and sprung up from the couch. "What is wrong with you?" She started to walk to her room room and turned around to say, I think you should leave. But when I turned around to face her, I saw Cynthia's face go completely pale, and she was pointing at the door. What is that? I peered over and saw that resting by the door was a wasp nest the size of a basketball, gray and breathing, already swarming with wasps that were coming in underneath the doorframe. Cynthia screamed, "Ah!" and the entire nest of wasps all turned to face her. I knew I had to do something, or she'd be toast. Without thinking, I grabbed her arm and shoved her out the door. Go! As soon as she walked out, I grabbed the nest and threw it into the center of the living room and locked the door shut with me inside it so they wouldn't chase her down the street. The wasps started covering me, and she hit the window with both fists. Open the door, babe! I shook my head. A sting would just hurt me, but one would kill her, so I wasn't opening anything. I saw a wasp climbing on my girlfriend's calf and immediately hit it with my sandal. Cynthia stood from the couch. Babe, why the hell did you just hit me? I scratched my head to think of a lie because
Oh, I already watched this.
Brennan slammed his blade down onto the girl with Down syndrome's tray and shredded her sandwich into pieces. She sat there stunned, tears welling up in her eyes. I turned to him furious. You think it's okay to do that to her? Brennan smirked. Yeah, she's a window licker. He turned and walked off without looking back. Something inside me snapped. I stood up on the bench, pointed across the cafeteria, and screamed, I challenge you to a Beyblade duel. The whole cafeteria gasped and turned to look.
Not tough. Yo.
Brennan stopped mid-step. He slowly turned around with this evil grin spreading. The first punch I ever threw put someone in the hospital. I'd never been in a fight. Not in middle school when kids picked on me. Not in high school when someone keyed my car. Not in college when a drunk guy shoved me outside a bar. I always walked away. People called me calm, patient, level-headed. But my little sister is the one thing in my life I'm not calm about. She's 16. Last Saturday, she went to a party and I told her to call me if anything happened. She called at midnight with her voice shaking. Some guy wouldn't take no for an answer. Followed her outside when she tried to leave. Cornered her by the cars. She got away, but he grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises. I broke every speed limit getting there, and my hands were shaking the whole way. Not from fear, something else. Something I'd never felt before. I parked crooked on the lawn and didn't care. She was sitting on the curb when I pulled up, arms wrapped around herself. The second I saw the bruises on her arm, 23 years of walking away went quiet. Which one? We were in the middle of a test when I caught a student whispering and pointing into his backpack. But just as I was about to stand up and bust him for cheating, he pulled out something metal and black. This kid was known for causing trouble and harassing multiple girls, one of them being my daughter. And since I was lucky, my daughter finally brought home a boyfriend I didn't want to kill. My parents walked into my room mid-game and unplugged my console. My dad held up my report card with a D in algebra and said, "No more games until
Oh, he is cooked.
your grades come up."
In England, we don't use letters, so like, yeah.
The next day, I walked into the kitchen and told him my friend started a study group at his house. My dad dropped me off that first night and watched me walk in with my backpack. He saw textbooks on the table and drove away smiling. My friend's mom sat us down and made us do homework for the first hour. The second that hour was up, my friend turned on Fortnite and we gamed for the rest of the night. When my dad picked me up, he asked how it went. I told him we studied the whole time. He squeezed my shoulder and said, "That's my boy." Every night after that, he'd pull up during the first hour and peek through the window. Textbooks out, homework spread across the table. By the time we switched to Fortnite, he was long gone. One night, my friend's mom came outside and told him, "Your son's been making my boy actually do his homework. He never used to." After that, my dad stopped getting out of the car. He'd just honk, and I'd come out. One night, I looked out the window, and my dad was walking up the driveway carrying a box of pizza. He was coming inside to thank my friend's parents. I jumped off the couch. I slapped my friend's arm, and he yelled, "Grab the math books." We threw the controllers under the couch cushions and had textbooks open by the time the front door opened. My dad walked in with the pizza grinning. He looked at the table covered in math books and started beaming. He pulled out his phone and took a photo of me pointing at equations in a calculus textbook. I still had a D in algebra. I just nodded and kept pointing like I knew what I was talking about while our Fortnite characters were getting eliminated in the background. My dad sent the photo to my mom, and she called me that night crying about how proud she was. He went back to honking from the driveway. To them, I was a math tutor, but really, I was top 10 in Fortnite. My parents walked into my room mid-game and unplugged my console. My dad held up my report card with a D in algebra and said, "No more games until your grades come up." The next day, I walked into the kitchen and told him my friend started a study group at his house. My dad dropped me off.
I'm sorry, I kind of like phase out, and then I don't.
My school's annual Skittles guessing contest, waiting for the teacher to announce the winner. The prize was a brand new Nintendo Switch, and I'd never wanted anything more. The teacher shouted, "We have a winner," and pointed right at me. I jumped out of my seat screaming. But before I could grab my prize, a kid named Jason snatched at the box. He'd won this contest every single year. I was only one number off. That Switch should be mine. I pulled it back towards me. "No way, I won it fair." His face dropped. "A real winner would just give it to me, and I'll make sure you do." I didn't know what he meant by that until he fell onto the floor crying. Jason put his hands over his face, real tears coming out, performing a show for everyone to see. "You don't understand. My parents have cancer, and winning this was the only thing that made them happy." The whole room gasped and turned to me. Suddenly, I was the villain, but I wasn't sure if he was lying or telling the truth. "Please," he choked out. "They don't have much time left." They were so excited for me. The teacher knelt beside him and rubbed his back, then looked up at me. "Maybe you could let him have this one." For his parents, everyone was staring, waiting for my response, but my stomach twisted. If his parents were really dying, I'd be a bad person. I didn't want to be cruel. So slowly, I held out the Switch and placed it in his hands, my heart breaking. I'm sorry about your parents." Jason looked up, and suddenly the tears stopped, and he smirked. But giving him the prize was the best thing I could have done, because moments later, 2 adults walked in, beaming. Jason yelled, "Mom, Dad, I won! The Nintendo's mine!" The teacher lit up and rushed over to them, taking their hands. "You must be so proud, and I'm so sorry about your battle with cancer. I hope you both recover soon." The parents stared at him, confused. "Huh?" The teacher blinked. "Jason told us about how you both are ill." She put her hand on my back. "And this sweet boy gave up the prize for your son to see you happy." Jason went white. His parents turned to him. "You told people we had cancer?" The whole room realized Jason lied to get the prize, and the teacher's face hardened. "You're banned from this contest. Now give your Switch back to the real winner." Jason's parents pushed him towards me. Jason hesitated. I smirked and said, "A real winner would just give it back to me." He dropped the Switch into my hands, his face redder than the Skittles in the jar. I was at my school's annual Skittles guessing contest, waiting for the teacher to announce the winner. The prize was a brand new Nintendo Switch, and I'd never wanted anything more. The teacher shouted, "We have a winner," and pointed right at me. I never thought I'd see attempted murder at my school until I got put on lunch duty. Every single day I watched this tiny kid walk up and ask, "Does this have gluten? Is this dairy-free?" But every day the lunch ladies would get annoyed saying, "You'll be fine, kid. Just eat it." But I need to know. I could get hurt, and they'd shove a tray at him and move on to the next student. I stood closer the next lunch, but I overheard them saying, "Oh look, here comes Allergy Boy again." They laughed at them. Maybe we should just...
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I've been making a thumbnail, so I haven't really been paying attention. But make my mic way louder. Is it not loud? Oh, okay. I don't know I don't know how I can make it louder though. Wait. Oh, so I need to turn this down. Okay, I've turned it down. Your sub count is a picture. It's not a picture. It's my real sub count, isn't it? Yeah, it's my real sub count. But no, it's not a. See, you saw me. You saw that. But now it's no. Oh, what have I done? Shoot, what have I done? Okay, there we go. I fixed it. Yeah, but maybe I didn't have it. Oh, I think yeah. It should work now. But yeah. I think the most people I've had on this stream is like 3, bro.
Give him dairy today and see what happens. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but they smiled while they handed him his food. Then he took his first bite, and not even 20 seconds later, he dropped his fork and started running out of the cafeteria with his hands on his stomach. Everyone watched him and laughed, especially the lunch ladies. Did you see him choking though? This was pure evil. I immediately walked to the principal's office to tell him to fire them, but as soon as I finished telling him what I saw, he goes, "That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" He called them in, and as soon as he asked them, one of them put her hand on her chest and said, "What? We try so hard. It was an honest mistake." The principal turned to me. "See, it's just a misunderstanding. Perhaps you should focus on your own classroom." I left that office furious, but I made a promise to myself. This wasn't happening again. The next day, I positioned myself right next to the lunch line when he walked in. "Hey there, we're so sorry about yesterday, so we made you something completely safe today. We promise." They were performing for the whole cafeteria. We made Thai noodles with our special sauce, totally safe. He thanked them and took his tray, and that's when it hit me. What was he even allergic to? So I quickly walked to the nurse's office to find his folder, and when I looked at it, I felt terrible. He was allergic to almost 25 things. No wonder he was so skinny. But then at the bottom it said, "Fatal, peanuts." Wait a second, they said Thai sauce. Thai sauce had peanuts in it. Then it hit me. They were trying to kill him. I instantly grabbed the EpiPen from the wall and ran to the cafeteria. But when I burst through the cafeteria doors, I saw a crowd of kids standing in a circle around one of the tables. Someone was screaming, "He can't breathe! Somebody help! Where's the EpiPen?" "There's no EpiPen! There isn't one in here!" But I had one. I dropped to my knees beside him and uncapped the pen. His throat had completely... I'm 30, and my family still treats me like a baby, so I put a knife to their throats to prove them wrong. We were at my cousin's wedding, and my aunt showed me the seating chart that had me at the kids' table. I was sat surrounded by 8-year-olds when my aunt walked over with wine in her hand, but gave me a juice box. Sorry. "Babies don't drink alcohol," she laughed. My mom appeared and wiped the imaginary juice off my face with a napkin. They walked away laughing. You see, I'm the youngest of 7 by 10 years.
Of 7? Yeah, that's sick, bro. Nah.
So I've always been the baby, no matter what. I was at the table, staring at the crayons I'd been given.
Why? What do you mean, why? Yo, oh my god.
Walked over with a plastic plate and chicken nuggets cut into pieces. He gave me a plastic fork with the prongs cut off. "Careful with the fork, buddy." He ruffled my hair and walked away. The kids were laughing at me. I had a medical degree and was being told to be careful with a plastic fork. I heard...
Careful? What do you mean, careful? WC, I know, bro. These are the buttiest comments to ever exist.
Heard adults laughing behind too, and decided to just leave. I went to stand up, when suddenly, I heard choking. I turned around, and Aunt Janet was going purple and grasping her throat. Mom was screaming, "I thought you said you grew out of your shrimp allergy." Janet collapsed and started turning blue. Someone called 911, but they were 10 minutes out. 10 minutes Janet didn't have. There was no EpiPen because she'd stopped carrying it years ago. My uncle panicked and knelt beside her. Everyone was screaming at him to do something, so he started randomly pressing her chest, which only made Janet turn more blue. I had to do something, so I grabbed a nearby steak knife and one of the kids' pens beside me. I knelt beside Janet and pushed my uncle's hands away. He screamed, "What are you doing? You're too young for this." But I didn't even reply and put the knife to Janet's throat. My mom grabbed my hand immediately. "What are you doing with that knife?" And I yelled back louder than I've ever yelled at them. "I know what I'm doing. Do you want Janet to live or no?" I was standing in court when my neighbor Barb held up her bandaged hand and told the judge she had been traumatized by my vicious dog. The judge looked at me. "Where's the defendant?" I reached into my bag and pulled out Peanut, my 9-pound senior chihuahua wearing tiny sunglasses because I was worried the court—
9-pound senior chihuahua. That's pretty crazy. She's dead? Gasp. Yo, Ted, lock in.
Room lights would hurt his eyes, and the judge stared at him. "Is this a joke?" I shook my head. "This is Peanut. He has arthritis in 3 legs, and his favorite hobby is sleeping." Peanut yawned, and you could see his one remaining tooth, which made the judge put his head in his hands. I could not wait to see how this ended. Barb launched into her testimony. "That beast stalked me for weeks. Every day I walked past, and there he was, watching me, waiting, planning." The judge looked at Peanut, who had already passed out in my arms with drool running down my sleeve. "That dog?" Barb pointed at Peanut. "Yes, he's not as innocent as he looks." I couldn't stay quiet. "Your Honor, Peanut can't see past 5 feet because of his cataracts." Barb kept going, holding up her bandaged thumb. "I was minding my own business when that hellhound lunged at me and attacked my hand. He needs to be put down." The judge squinted at her thumb. "Did you need medical attention?" Barb gasped, putting—
They've started a flipping thingy over a dog following them, right?
her hand against her chest dramatically. "No, but it drew blood, Your Honor. I had to fight for my life." "And how exactly did you fight a 9-pound dog?" I asked. Barb scoffed. "I made a defensive leg motion." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You kicked the dog." Barb threw up her hands. "I had to, or that rabid little rat could have killed me." The judge looked at me. "Do you have anything to add?" I nodded. My doorbell camera got everything. The bailiff pulled up the footage, and we watched Barb walk up and reach toward Peanut while he was sleeping on the porch. When Peanut ignored her, she kicked him, launching him back. Peanut had to scramble backwards guards, and you could hear him making sounds like a dying, squeaky toy. Then Barb looked in both directions before yanking her hand back directly into the thorns on my rose bush. The judge's face went completely flat. So you reached for a sleeping dog on someone else's property, kicked him, and then scratched yourself on a bush, and now you want him put down. Barb turned red and stomped her foot.
That's too far. Yeah, that's too far. That's way too far.
The video doesn't show how vicious he was. The judge shook his head and sighed. Case dismissed. Go get some help. I walked up to the judge. Your Honor, I want to press charges for animal cruelty since she traumatized my vicious dog. I was standing in court when my
that's pretty smart.
I put my hand on my holster and scanned the crowd, looking for
That's
threats while the mayor spoke into the microphone. I was his bodyguard, and I just caught a figure in a dark blue hoodie and shorts at the edge of the crowd. My eyes narrowed as I noticed the pistol-shaped outline in their pocket, and I instantly radioed the other guards as I realized what this meant. But the figure saw me and immediately disappeared into the crowd. My focus dropped down to the front row, where my wife was smiling at me. But I frowned because next to her, my daughter's seat was empty. She'd screamed she hated my job and hated the mayor this morning, slamming the door in my face before I left, and I thought about how awful it would be if something happened today, and that was our last interaction. Suddenly, my radio crackled again. We can't find the figure with the hoodie in the crowd. I felt extremely uneasy and decided it was too dangerous. I walked across the stage and leaned into the mayor's ear while he was speaking. We've identified a perceived threat. You need to leave for your safety immediately. I could see his skin go white in fear. And he immediately nodded.
That's the same guy as that 5'3" dad guy.
Off stage.
He's just reusing the
but then while
he's just reusing the thing. How lazy can you be? I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Scanning the crowd one last time, my eyes caught movement. The same hooded figure was pushing through the crowd with the kind of urgency that only meant one thing. I tried to stay calm, but then I caught a glint of metal in their pocket. The other guards were too far away to tackle them, and they pulled out a gun and raised it at the mayor. My brain went on autopilot as I dived in front of the mayor. Time slowed down, and while in the air, I looked at my wife. I thought about how she was going to have to see her husband die in front of her. I thought about my daughter and how the last thing we did was slam a door in each other's face.
Yo, to be honest, would you guys no, because I actually no, I'm not gonna say that because I don't know. Never mind.
Faces. I heard the sound of the bullet flying and suddenly felt the impact. The shot hit my knee. I fell hard, bleeding from my leg and groaning in pain. But the mayor was okay.
Yo, when you
and
guys
I saw my wife.
slash you, Ted, would you jump in front of somebody, in front of the president, or like, I don't know, somebody, to you know, save them? You definitely wouldn't.
Crying and screaming, trying to get to me while security held her back. But then I looked past the crowd and saw the shooter running away, and my body froze in shock and tears began rolling down my cheeks. The shooter had a scar on their calf, the same scar my daughter has. My daughter was the shooter. She would rather shoot her father than let him do his job. I put my hand on my holster and scanned the crowd, looking for threats while the mayor spoke into the microphone. I was his bodyguard, and I just caught a figure in a dark blue hoodie and shorts at the edge of the crowd. My eyes narrowed as I noticed the pistol-shaped outline in their pocket, and I instantly radioed the other guards as I realized what this meant. But the figure saw me and immediately disappeared into the crowd. My focus dropped down to the front row, where my wife was smiling at me. But I frowned because next to her, my daughter's seat was empty. She'd screamed she hated my job and hated the mayor this morning, slamming the door in my
Oh, my bad.
My son Michael was 7 when doctors told us his hearing was basically superhuman. He was excited because doctors wanted to run tests for his super hearing. But when we drove home and pulled onto our street, Michael wasn't excited anymore. He was squinting carefully like he was listening for something I couldn't hear. That's when I noticed the front door of our house was wide open. My heart dropped and I instantly ran inside, calling my son James's name, but nobody answered, and his bedroom was empty. I noticed our back door was open, and I realized somebody had kidnapped my son. I dropped to my knees, dialing 911. And that's when Michael tapped my shoulder with a serious face. I heard it, Dad. I heard them take my big brother. I frantically asked what he meant, and he replied, "You had the windows down in the car, Dad." I heard a voice that sounded like Batman's from our house. He told James he's taking him back to Birchwood. My stomach sank because Birchwood was the most dangerous part of town, and I was amazed because how did Michael actually hear that? But when the cops arrived and searched the house, they told me the investigation would take days because they had no leads. My legs nearly buckled, yelled. But then Michael confidently stepped forward and told them everything. The cop scoffed. You expect me to trust a kid with some magic hearing? But I quickly pulled out the doctor's report showing Michael's hearing was superhuman and begged the cop to listen to him. He was hesitant but nodded. The three of us began driving to Birchwood, my heart pounding in fear the whole way. But when I looked at Michael, I saw him scanning the houses like he had a plan I didn't know about. The second we pulled up, Michael jumped out and fearlessly ran to the first door, pressing his ear against it to listen in. I nervously asked him, "What are you doing?" And he whispered back, listening for his voice. The cop went to pull him back, but then Michael shouted, "Not this house," and took off running before the cop could stop him. He went door to door, pressing his ear flat against it and listening in, while I watched, biting my nails anxiously and praying James was alive. I was starting to doubt Michael because this was crazy, but then while listening to one door, he stopped. His eyes widened, and he motioned for us to come close. "It's this house." I can hear his voice. I walked over with trembling legs, and me and the cop put our ears against the door. We heard nothing, but Michael nodded. "It's this house. Trust me." The detective knocked on the door, while me and Michael hid in the bushes, my heart hammering in my chest. A teenage boy answered, "Hello, officer," and my face dropped. His voice was deep like Batman's. Michael was correct all along.
It's
Suddenly,
like
Michael yelled,
Batman.
"I can hear James upstairs," and bolted into the house. He was too fast for me to catch him, and my stomach sank as the teenage boy lunged to try stop Michael. But the cop quickly restrained his arms. I followed Michael upstairs, my hands shaking, but then I saw James sleeping on a bare mattress. Michael was listening to his heartbeat. I started crying in relief, and when I asked Michael how he heard him, he replied, "James snores when he sleeps. You just can't hear him, but I can." He grinned so wide, and I just smiled because Michael's hearing had saved his big brother's life. My son Michael was 7 when doctors told us his hearing was based. My 12.
What did I get the end? I got the end by somebody.
12-year-old sister and I were home alone upstairs when we heard the front door burst open. A voice I didn't recognize yelled, "Fire, fire, get out!" But I didn't smell fire, and anything that could have caused one was turned off. I realized whoever this was trying to lure us out. I crept towards the door and locked it, but when I looked over at my sister, she was shaking like she knew something I didn't. Suddenly, I heard footsteps slowly coming up the stairs. The handle started rattling like crazy, and the voice again yelled, "This is the fire department. Please come out." I looked out the window and didn't see a fire truck. I brought me and my sister to the ledge intending to climb out, but a white van I didn't recognize sat parked across the street. A man in the driver's seat was looking directly at me, almost like he was daring me to get out. My heart was racing, and my sister kept whispering for me to do something. The door handle rattling had now also stopped, which was somehow scarier. I pulled out my phone and called our dad. I told him everything and prayed he'd come quickly. That's when my sister grabbed my hand. She whispered she knows the person outside our door. It's the kid from school who was harassing her. I hugged her and grabbed a remote nearby, promising I'd protect her if he comes in. But then I smelled something. Actual smoke coming from downstairs.
Smoke? That's pretty insane. Do you think I'll be the next AA badge? You could be. I don't know. Maybe.
I
might end in like 50 minutes.
That's why the rattling had stopped. The kid had gone down and lit a real fire. My hands shook, but I didn't even have time to react before a hard kick rattled our door. Then another kick and another. My sister was sobbing, and I knew I had to stay calm for her. I told her, "Let's try the window again." We crept over, and the white van was now empty. This was our chance. I helped my sister onto the ledge, but when she looked down to start climbing, she went pale. The man from the van was right there, smiling at her.
Everybody.
He grabbed the drain pipe on the wall and began climbing up. My
subscribe.
sister jumped back in, and we just hugged. Hearing our door splinter and accepting this was the end. We were going to die. But then I heard the squeal of tires. Our dad's car was in the driveway. He got out and sprinted, pulling the man off the drain pipe and hitting him over the head. Then he ran inside, not caring that the fire had spread so much it swallowed him immediately.
Everybody here, you need to subscribe or else, yeah, you have to subscribe.
immediately. Our door was barely holding on. The kid kicked one more time, and the hinges gave out. The door swung open. He had a knife raised above his head, and he lunged right at my sister like I wasn't even there. My heart dropped. My body reacted before my brain, and I jumped in front of my sister, preparing to get stabbed to save her life. The knife was inches away from my chest, when out of nowhere the kid stopped. His face fell, and he dropped to the floor completely. Blood started pooling from his back. I looked into the hallway, and saw my dad with his gun raised.
Oh.
During lunch period, my lunch lady aunt slipped me a note. Don't eat any of the food. Something's going on. I looked up at her, but she was already serving the next kid, not making eye contact. What's this? I whispered. She ignored me and kept serving. I sat down with my usual group. Everyone was eating. The pizza looked normal, smelled normal. Owen took a huge bite. Finally, decent pizza. I pushed mine around my plate and pretended to eat. Not hungry? Taylor asked. Big breakfast. 20 minutes into lunch, Liam grabbed his stomach. Oh shit. He ran to the bathroom fast.
He
Dude probably ate too fast. Owen laughed. Then Chloe doubled over. Oh god. She ran too. Didn't make it. Vomit hit the cafeteria floor. Within 5 minutes, 10 kids had fled to bathrooms, then 20. Then the sound started. Explosions from the bathrooms, crying, begging. Owen's face went white mid-sentence. He stood up and immediately shit himself right there. It ran down his legs.
Stop.
I grabbed the last toy soldier for my son, and a security guard was in my face. I was gonna get that for my kid. Get something else. The nerve of this guy. Sorry, my son mowed lawns for a month to save up for this. He turned cold. Entitled Beach. Excuse me? You're the type that cries like a little baby when he doesn't get his way. I thought to myself, I'm a Marine. You could say a lot of things about me. A crybaby isn't one of them. I thought about responding, then decided against it, and walked away. That's what I figured. Any sign of conflict, and you fold like the little beach I thought you were. I hesitated for a second, then kept walking. At checkout, I felt him watching me. Sure enough, he pushed through the line, badge out, hand on his taser. Sir, come with me, right now. Every customer stared at me like I'd already been convicted. Excuse me? I watched you steal something. Don't make this difficult. Fine, get your manager. The rent-a-cop pulled me into the tiny back office, a metaphor for his tiny dick. He told his idiot manager that he watched me steal something and put it back when I saw him coming. A blatant lie. The manager bought every word and informed me I was going on a watch list and banned from the store. The rent-a-dork got right in my face and smiled like he'd won a trophy. I was about to make a decision I couldn't take back when Sally from Home Goods walked in. Sir, I actually saw and heard the whole exchange between these two, and the customer is telling the truth. He never tried to steal anything. The rent-a-dweeb turned white. The manager apologized and gave me 50% off my entire purchase. I loaded the
50%!
cart with everything my son could want, with the last toy soldier on top. On the way out, I watched the rent-a-turd get fired. A week later, I saw him on the local news.
Yo, I'm not doing that.
Caught stealing the exact same toy soldier from another store. Some people never learn. I grabbed the last toy soldier for my son, and a security guard was in my face. I was gonna get that for my kid. Get something else. The nerve of this guy. Sorry, my son mowed lawns for a month to save up for this. He turned cold. Entitled Beach. Excuse me? You're the type that cries like a little baby when he doesn't get his way. I thought. The principal announced, Code Red, this is not a drill.
It's
4 times. Code Red meant there was a shooter, and we needed to lock the door, turn off the lights, and hide. But our substitute Mr. Pell was standing next to the open door with the lights still on, and said, I'm only allowed to follow your teacher's lesson plan, and it just says to do your worksheet, so you're going to keep doing the worksheet. Every other classroom had already locked their door and turned off the lights. A kid in the back stood up. Mr. Pell, we need to hide or we're going to die. If your teacher sees the worksheet isn't done, I'm going to get fired. A girl screamed down the hallway, and then we heard 2 loud popping sounds. Mr. Pell, that was a weapon. Please close the door. Mr. Pell laughed. That was a chair falling over. Sit down. Then a girl said, the news says there's a shooting here. Please close the door. You need to listen to the lesson plan, not the news. Now be quiet and do your work. That's when I had enough. I ran to the door and pushed it shut. I locked it and flipped the lights off. Mr. Pell gasped, how dare you disobey the lesson plan? I hope you get fired. Everyone hide, I said.
Yeah.
Everyone hid in the back of the classroom. Mr. Pell still tried to unlock the door, but I blocked him. I'm not dying because of you. Mr. Pell gritted his teeth, and that's when we heard footsteps walking down the hallway. And then our door handle rattled, but the door was locked. But Mr. Pell was reaching to unlock it, so I punched him so hard he knocked out, and then the footsteps walked away. Nobody said a word for 40 minutes until the SWAT team knocked in a special way and said the shooters had been arrested. Then the principal came to our room and told Mr. Pell, you left the door open during a school shooting. You're fired. Mr. Pell stormed up to me.
He's fired.
fired. All you had to do was follow the lesson plan. I balled my fist like I was going to hit him again. He screamed like a little girl and hid behind the principal. The principal announced, "My son went to blow out his birthday candles, but his aunt leaned in last second and blew them out for him. She'd been doing this for the last 4 years, never once caring." It made my son cry. Not only that, but she'd also come wearing designer dresses and professional makeup to make the day about herself. She said she was too poor to celebrate birthdays as a child, so this was her way of taking back her childhood. So when my son's 10th birthday came around, I had an idea. I brought out the largest cake I'd ever bought. It had 3 layers, weighed 8 pounds, and had the candles already lit and placed. I glanced over at her face and saw what she was planning. We sang happy birthday, and my son went to blow the candles out. That's when she leaned in like always and blew hard. But what she didn't know was that I'd hidden springs inside the cake. Springs that were held down by temperature-sensitive
That's smart. Write it down, write it down, write it down.
latches that only stayed closed when in contact with heat. So as long as the candles were lit, the cake stayed together. But when she blew them out, the heat went away and the latches opened. The springs released, launching the entire center of the 8-pound cake into her face, covering her done-up hair, her professional makeup, and Gucci dress. My son started laughing so hard he was crying, and she ran out in tears. That's when I brought out the second non-booby-trapped cake for my son. My son went to blow out his birthday candles, but his aunt leaned in last second and blew them out for him. She'd been doing this for the last 4 years.
Oh, that's a good loop. Oh, that's why.
I was outside looking for my cat when I saw my neighbor stepping on her tail and laughing.
Oh, no, no. You cannot do that.
My cat was screaming. I ran over and shoved him off. "What is wrong with you? Why were you stepping on her tail?" He got close to my face. "Because I wanted to." "What are you gonna do about it?" I wanted to punch him because my cat Fluff is my best friend. She's friendly with everyone, so we let her roam outside, and he stomped on her for a laugh. I wanted to knock his teeth out of his mouth, but I grabbed my cat and walked away because I thought it wouldn't happen again. Then the next day, I brought Fluff in my room and closed my door to
That's a W name, Fluff.
trap her. I wasn't taking any chances, but when I went to the bathroom, Fluff slipped out the front door and went outside. I didn't even notice until I heard her screech from outside. My balls hit the floor. I ran out and the neighbor was on my yard. My downstairs neighbor knocked on my door and told me her and her husband were doing renovation work, so if I heard anything, just ignore it. Over the next few hours, I heard banging and drilling, but after they were done, water stopped coming out of my tap. Instead, it was this horrible, rancid smell that was so bad I doubled over. I tried the kitchen tap, but again, no water, just that rotting stench. I called a plumber immediately. He came over, traced the pipes, and said the damage was because of my downstairs neighbor. Something had punctured the pipe in her wall. She opened the door, and when the plumber explained we needed to come in, her face went white. She said now wasn't a good time and quickly closed the door. The plumber shrugged and said he could try something else. He spent an hour working, but when I went back to my apartment and turned the tap on, there was still no water and the smell was still there. I called the plumber back and told him whatever he did didn't work. The only option was getting behind the neighbor's wall. We went back to her door and knocked. "Do you really need to come in?" The plumber nodded. "There's no other way, ma'am. I need to see behind that wall." She looked at me, then back at the plumber. "Are you sure? You're absolutely sure you really want to come in?" The plumber said yes. She stood there for a second, then smiled extremely wide and stepped aside. "Okay, no problem. Come right in." Something about her sudden high-pitched voice made my stomach turn. We walked in, and I instantly noted how there seemed to be no work done, no paint, no drills, or
I'm gonna take a guess. She's murdered somebody and hit that body.
anything signaling renovation. The only thing that seemed different was the huge painting in front of me, hung on the exact wall that the pipes ran behind. "What kind of work did you do?" I asked, trying to sound casual. The woman stared at me with that same smile and said, "The usual kind. It was mostly just hanging up this painting." I thought about it. What kind of painting takes hours of banging and drilling to hang up? The plumber told her he was sorry, but he needed to take it down and open the wall up to see the pipe. Her eyes went wide. She paused for a minute. "Is that really necessary?" The plumber nodded. The woman stared at him before smiling, "Of course," and turning away towards the kitchen. "Just getting you a drink while you work." Everything about her felt wrong. I was watching the plumber work when suddenly I heard something behind me. Soft tiptoes, like someone trying not to make a sound.
She has
I
a
turned
knife.
and saw her inching toward us with a kitchen knife over her head. She lunged at me, but the plumber heard. He spun around and threw the wrench in his hand at her head. It caught her in the temple, and she hit the floor. My hands were shaking. The plumber's were too. We looked at each other, and then at the wall. He pulled the painting off and opened it. When he did, we both backed up. Her husband's body was in the wall.
I knew it!
A woman at the bus stop told me to get out of my wheelchair and give it to her son. I was waiting for the bus when a kid pointed at me and said, "Mom, my legs hurt. I want to sit down like him." She looked over and said, "Get up. My son needs the chair." I told her that I was paralyzed.
You cannot just go up to somebody and say, "Yo, I need a wheelchair." There's a reason they have it.
But she didn't care. He's been on his feet all day waiting for this bus. He's a good boy. He deserves
Why can't he just sit down on the floor?
to sit. All the people waiting stared.
There's a bench right here.
Deserves to sit.
Look, there's extra space. What are the comments?
People waiting stared, and I just laughed. "Ma'am, my legs don't work. I can't stand up." She didn't move. "I'll rent it for $30. It's not for rent. I just told you I'm paralyzed." She rolled her eyes. $75. Final offer. Don't be cheap. I told her again that it wasn't about money and started rolling away to wait further down the sidewalk. But she grabbed the back of my chair and yanked it. "Where do you think you're going? My son needs to sit down. You need to give him your chair." I tried to push her hand off the handle. "Let go of my chair." She grabbed my wrist and tried to yank me up. "Stand up, stand up." "I literally can't. My legs don't work." She bent down, got her hands under one of the wheels, and tried to lift, but the chair barely moved. That's when the bus pulled up and she pointed at me and told the driver, "You can't let him on. He harassed my son. He's a danger to my kid." But a guy waiting at the stop with us said, "He didn't do anything." She tried to dump him out of his chair. She turned to him. "He's selfish. He should have given my son the chair. My son is tired and he just sat there." But her son said,
the bus is there now. There is absolutely no reason to be arguing over it now. Actually, I think, you know what? If this was a real situation, he should have sued that person.
"Mom, I didn't want his chair. I just wanted to sit down like him." The driver looked at the woman and said, "Ma'am, you can walk home. You're not getting on my bus." She started yelling that everyone was lying and that I'd started it, but the driver ignored her and lowered the ramp for me. And then her son walked over to me and said, "I'm sorry my mom did that. I hope your legs feel better someday." I smiled. "Thanks, buddy. They won't, but I've got this chair, so I'm okay." A woman at the bus stop told A controller smacked the back of my head, and I turned around to find my brother holding a Nerf gun. I'd been mid-match in Fortnite. By the time I turned back, my character was already on the ground. I spun back around. "What is your problem? Mom said there's only money for one console." He waved the gun in my face. "I want an Xbox, and I'm not letting you ruin it with a PlayStation." He dropped a dart into one chamber, spun the cylinder, and set the gun on my bed. "Loser shuts up forever." He went first, pressed it to his temple, said Xbox for life.
Yo, we are not doing Russian roulette with the flipping Nerf gun.
And pulled. Click. He grinned at me like he'd already won. I
Also, you can see with the thing when it's gonna
picked it up, didn't say a word, and pulled. Click. I set it down without changing my face, and his grin twitched. He picked it up slower. His hand shook so hard the cylinder rattled when he pulled. Click. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. I picked it up before he'd put his hand down, and pulled. Click. He flinched at my shot. He stared at the gun for a full minute. "Maybe we should just rock, paper, scissors." I didn't move. He reached for the gun, and his hand stopped halfway. I picked it up, pressed it to my own temple, and pulled. Click. I turned the gun on him, and held it there long enough for him to do the math. One chamber left, one dart. I expect that PS5 under the tree by Christmas. I dropped the gun, grabbed the controller, and tossed it into his lap on my way out. He told Mom he changed his mind that night. The PS5 was under the tree. A controller smacked the back of my head.
No, but I like Xbox more, to be honest. Xbox is better.
And I turned around to find my brother holding a Nerf gun. My parents kicked me out, and it was the best day of my life. On my 18th birthday,
Yo, how's that the best day of your life? Oh, it's like that streamer guy, like Nitro Camden, and he got kicked out by his mom, and now he's like famous.
Brother tore open a new pair of Jordans, while I got handed a trash
It was just his mom.
Bag of his old clothes with a homemade birthday card on top. My adoptive mom rolled her eyes. "Nobody else loved you enough to sacrifice as much as we did for you. You should be more grateful." My dad said his favorite phrase, "If you don't like it, get out." But this time, I stuffed everything I owned into the bag and walked out. I was halfway towards the park when my birthday card slipped out. I looked inside for money and saw someone left their number on the back. I recognized it as my aunt's. I texted her what happened.
Yo.
"Now that you're 18,
How does this guy know his aunt's number? I don't even. Sometimes I forget my mom's number, bro.
Are you ready to meet your bio parents? She picked me up that night and handed me her phone. I've had this saved for 18 years. My bio mom's Facebook page. Every year I went to try on the VR headset I'd just gotten for Christmas.
Oh, VR.
But my parents yanked it off my head. You know the rules. Your little sister gets to go first. My sister smiled.
Yo, they're like, no.
Wickedly, and they put the headset on her. She grabbed the controllers from my hands and ran to her room, locking herself in and playing until the night. The next morning, she grabbed the VR again and went to her room, but when I walked in, she wasn't even playing it. It was just sitting in the corner while she scrolled her phone. I went to grab it, but she immediately put it on and grabbed the controllers, yelling, "Mom,
why do you have it strapped to your neck back?
He's trying to take the headset when I'm not done with it." My mom rushed in and kicked me out of the room, not listening to a word I said. My sister smiled at me from behind and took the headset off immediately, going back to her phone. Every day after that, she'd take my headset before I even woke up and would only put it on as soon as I came into her room. It had been 3 weeks and I hadn't even tried it once, so one day I had enough. I took all my Christmas money and bought a pair of ice skates. I put them on and announced loudly, "I'm so excited for my new skates. I'm going to ice skate at the nearby rink." Immediately, my parents and my sister came running. You know the rules. Your little sister gets to go first. They pried my skates off my feet and handed them to my
Surely they wouldn't fit.
sister, and she smiled and laughed. What she didn't know is I'd made the blades smooth. They wouldn't grip the ice at all, and she'd fall immediately. And when she came back an hour later, she was sobbing. Both her wrists were bent completely the wrong
Oh, well, that's a bit too far.
way. She had tumbled the second she got on the ice, landing directly on her wrists. Both her arms were put in casts, and she cried about the pain. But I just simply smiled at her, then walked to her room, took my VR headset, and finally plugged it in. My parents had no choice but to let me play, as my sister could no longer use her hands to pretend to hold the controllers, or to even scroll her phone. I went to try on the VR. The school prankster grabbed my waistband in the packed hallway and yanked my pants straight to the floor. But
oh, that happens at school a lot.
I had a second pair of shorts on underneath because I knew this day would come, so I bent down, pulled my jeans up, and kept walking. The hallway stared at me with wide eyes. Nobody had ever watched Oscar lose, and now he stood there holding my belt loop with his mouth hanging open. He jabbed a finger at my back. "I will get you," I laughed. "We'll see about that one, buddy." The next morning, I caught Oscar rigging a bucket of expired milk over the bathroom door. Then
Where do you get that from?
and ducking around the corner to wait for me, and I laughed because this was his usual routine. So I yelled that someone was messing with his setup. He came charging back through the door to save it, and the whole bucket dumped down over his own head. He stood there soaked, milk dripping off his chin, hair flat against his face, while a dozen kids pulled out their phones and pointed. No way, the prankster's actually getting dethroned. For the first time in his life, Oscar didn't say anything. He just stared at me like his little head was about to explode. "This isn't over," I patted him on the head. "Whatever you say, little man." And on the morning of the spring assembly, I found a thin cord tied to the back of my jeans, trailing down to the front row, and Oscar was holding the end of it. He was planning to yank it the second I stood up for my science award, dropping my pants in front of 1,200 students, all because he wanted to crown himself as the school prankster. They called my name, and I walked out to the microphone. Oscar sat in the front row with the cord wrapped around his fist, grinning up at me. He waited until every eye in the gym was on me, stood up, and yanked it with everything he had. His own jeans shot straight down to his sneakers, because when he wasn't looking, I tied his own cord to the back of his own pants, and 1,200 kids saw the king of the school standing in his boxers. The gym exploded. I leaned into the microphone while he scrambled for his jeans. "Truce?" The school prankster grabbed my waistband
No, don't say truce, bro. How stupid are you?
in the packed hallway and yanked. My friends laughed at my rust bucket collection until 2 of them got their BMWs repossessed. We were all 22, fresh out of college, financing German cars we couldn't really afford. I was about to do the same thing, had the loan approved for a brand new luxury sedan. But my uncle pulled me aside at a family barbecue and walked me over to his garage. He pulled a tarp off a beat-up muscle car covered in dust. That pile of rust cost me $2,000 in 1995. Sold it last month for $140,000. Your fancy new car will be worth half what you paid the second you drive it off the lot. These old beauties only go up. I canceled my loan and spent the money on 3 rusted-out classics from the 60s. A Camaro that wouldn't start, a Corvette with a blown engine, and a Chevelle that looked like it had been sitting in a field for decades. My parents were mortified when neighbors complained about the junkyard in our driveway. My friends were worse. "Bro, you're never getting a girl driving those rust buckets," one of them said while showing off his new leather seats. "Unless you're into cougars who remember when these things were new." Another one laughed and said I looked like I was collecting scrap metal instead of building a future. Every time we hung out, they'd brag about their heated seats and backup cameras while I pulled up in something that barely started. There were nights I sat in that Camaro that wouldn't start and just stared at the steering wheel wondering if my uncle was wrong. But then I'd remember that $140,000 sale and keep grinding. For 4 years, I spent nights and weekends in my uncle's garage learning to weld, rebuild engines, and match factory paint. Burned through 6 shirts learning to weld right. Rebuilt my first engine 3 times before it actually ran. Sliced my hands open more times than I could count. My social life disappeared because everyone thought I was too broke to hang out with. While my friends posted pictures of their leather interiors and complained about $1,400 monthly payments, I was covered in oil trying to bring these rust buckets back to life. Then I started recognizing what collectors actually wanted. My Camaro had the rare big block option. The Corvette had the split rear window that people paid crazy money for. The Chevelle still had the original factory papers that most owners had lost decades ago, and the market was about to explode. Auction prices went insane, and collectors started calling me directly. I sold that first Camaro for 30 times what I paid and used the money to buy a dozen more. Restored them, flipped 3 for enough to open my own warehouse. Last month, my phone rang. It was one of the guys who used to roast me hardest. "Hey man, you still in the car business? I got laid off and the bank took my BMW. You know anyone hiring?" A week later, same call from another one. Meanwhile, I was sitting on 26 muscle cars worth more than everything they'd ever owned combined. I drove my restored Camaro to our old...
Okay, let's be honest, this isn't realistic. Like, this isn't just gonna happen normally.
hangout spot last weekend. Same friend who said I'd never get a girl driving rust buckets walked over. His jaw actually dropped. He ran his hand along the hood like he was afraid to touch it. "That thing's beautiful. What would you sell it for?" My wife leaned over from the passenger seat. "Don't bother. He's not selling that one." He looked at her, then back at me. Didn't say a word. Same rust bucket that was never gonna get me a girl.
Wait,
Funny
that girl in the car is in like loads of them. They just like, whatever.
how that worked out. My friends laughed at my rust bucket. The morning of the field trip, my mom taped a phone to my ankle and grabbed my face. "If anything goes wrong, you call me right away." Our school had banned all phones after 3 8th graders filmed themselves breaking things in the bathroom, and now a security guard searched every
We haven't been allowed phones in our school for ages.
single backpack at the front door every morning with no exceptions. My heart was pounding so hard during the security check that I was sure the guard could hear it, but he just unzipped my backpack, looked inside, and waved me through. I climbed onto the bus with the phone still pressing against...
What? So you're saying they have security guards at the flipping bus stop? Oh, bro. Don't just do it at the school, and then they'd stop doing it at some point anyways, too.
against my ankle. I had no idea I was going to need it. 20 minutes into the drive, our bus driver, Mr. Pete, made a strange gasping sound and fell forward onto the steering wheel. His foot pressed down hard on the gas, and the bus swerved and crashed through the metal guardrail on a bridge. I gripped the seat in front of me and screamed as we flew through the air for 2 full seconds.
Well, maybe somebody should have stopped him, maybe? Just if you think about it.
Then we hit the river like a wall. Water poured in through the broken front window right away, and the bus
Just
started
jump
tipping
out.
nose first
Like
toward the
what?
bottom. 6 of us
Jump
threw
out,
our
get
whole
on the
bodies
top.
against the emergency exits, and nothing moved. "The doors won't open."
Well, that's a stupid emergency exit.
The water was already at our waists and rising fast. I reached down and ripped the phone off my ankle and dialed 911 with shaking hands. "Our bus is sinking and we are trapped." The operator stayed completely calm. "I have your
Yeah, this is why you should be allowed your phones in school, guys.
location. Help is 2 minutes away." The water reached our necks, and kids climbed onto seats, pressing their faces into the last few inches of air near the ceiling. Then something slammed into the back window from outside, and it shattered. The dive team was there, and they started pulling kids out one by one. I sat on the shore shivering as 3 kids got CPR, and thankfully every single one survived. Mr. Pete survived a heart attack because help reached him in time. The school got rid of the phone ban the following week, and my mom always
Yes.
make sure I have my phone before I leave the house. The morning of...
Let's go.
I opened my son's Instagram live and saw he was standing on the edge of a building. "Welcome to Fact or Cap." What the hell? What was Justin doing?
No way he's gonna. I know this is fake, but like, I don't think many people are dumb enough to drink Red Bull and then see if you have wings or not.
I could see the likes popping up on the corner of the screen. Guys, I had no idea, but today Mr. Foley told us that Red Bull gives you wings. Today we're gonna test if that's cap or not. No, please tell me this is a joke. But I could see he was on the roof of his school. I instantly swiped off the live and dialed his teacher. Hello? My son is on the roof of the school. I think he's about to jump, but she just laughed and said, "Sir, those doors are locked. There's no way he's up there." I swiped back onto the live. Now there were more of his classmates up there, and they all started yelling, "Chug, chug, chug."
Yo, no, his friends are dumb enough to make him jump too.
I swiped back to the phone call and yelled, "Oh my God, you have to hurry. He's about to jump." I was already jumping in my car, sweating through my clothes. But I heard her say, "Wait, no. The door is locked. I can't get up there." Locked? How did they lock it? I swiped back to the live and watched as his classmates were pushing things in front of the door to the roof, all standing in front of it so nobody could stop him. He was getting ready to jump again. I couldn't let my son die because of Mr. Foley's dumb lie, so I broke every traffic law just to get there. I was speeding with one hand, watching the live with the other. Okay guys, Mr. Foley better have been telling the truth. Kids were typing, "Do it," and "Fly Justin," and I was going 90 down that residential road. I screeched into the parking lot and saw him up there. I was almost out of time, and just as I burst through the school doors, I heard them yelling, "Justin, don't jump!" But they were already counting down. I ran up the stairs and saw multiple teachers pounding on the door to get onto the roof, one being Mr. Foley, and as bad as I wanted to punch him in the face, I had to get to Justin first. I could hear them outside. 3, 2, 1, no! And just as we all busted through that door, we saw Justin running toward the edge of the building. I screamed, "Justin, no!" But he jumped. He flew off the edge of the building, thinking he was about to fly. Everyone screamed, cried, and he hit the ground. I looked over at Mr. Foley. "You told him to jump off the roof?" He tried to make up an excuse. How was I supposed to know he'd believe me? I was just joking. And in that moment, I couldn't hold back. As they loaded him into the ambulance, I shoved Mr. Foley
Oh my God,
off the
bro.
roof too. I opened my son's While walking my daughter to school, I noticed a mime on our street with a sign that said, 7 days until it happens. He had a notebook out
So what happens?
and was writing things down, handing out drawings to people who walked by. My daughter thought he was hilarious and ran over to give him a coin. He took it, staying perfectly in character, and waved at her in slow motion while smiling with these wide eyes. Over the next few days, he never left. His sign now said 5 days, and he was tying elaborate knots with a rope, spinning them into shapes while people threw money and clapped. By the time it said 3 days, he was crouched over a padlock showing the crowd how to break it with a bobby pin, and people were filming and laughing. But with 2 days left, I noticed something odd. He'd only pick up his notebook and write it in when I was with my daughter. If I walked by alone, his notebook stayed on the ground, and the day his sign said 1 day left, he wasn't performing at all. He
Bro, he's left the flipping money on the floor. Someone's just gonna go steal that.
was just standing
Also, does he not sleep? Like, bro.
completely still, and when my daughter waved at him, he didn't wave back for the first time all week. The next morning, he was gone. I was creeped out, but tried to ignore it, and just went to work as normal. But around 2 p.m., my daughter called me. She whispered, "Daddy, there's someone in our house." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and went pale. I told her to lock herself in the bathroom because I was coming, and called the police telling them everything. I sprinted out to my car, and immediately hit the accelerator, running every red light on the way, praying my daughter was still alive. When I got to my street, I saw
She looked like super young though. Why does she have a phone already?
my front door wide open. My stomach sank, and I ran inside instantly, expecting the worst. That's when I saw the mime's notebook and the bobby pin he'd been performing with on the drawer. I ran around the house and found the mime
Oh, he's using the pin. Oh, and then he's gonna use a rope. No, actually.
standing in the middle of my daughter's room. He was holding a rope, but when he saw
Yeah,
me,
he does use
didn't
a rope.
even
I called it.
run. He just smiled and said, "She looks just like her." I slammed him into the wall and held him there until I heard the sirens. Police arrested the mime, and while I was hugging my daughter, told me that 3 years ago he'd lost custody. His wife took their 10-year-old and vanished, so he'd been drifting between cities, finding girls who looked like his daughter to try take home. He was homeless, so the
Yo, bro.
money people gave paid for the ropes and tools, and the tricks he performed were him practicing the kidnapping skills. While walking in the
Damn.
3rd grade, a girl 3 years older than me grabbed my... I got put under anesthesia. I pressed the trigger on my controller and got the headshot kill. Victory
Yo, how AI do we want this to be? It's flipping Fortnite. It's a purple pickaxe. Is that actually a thing? I don't think that's a thing. I'm pretty sure it's gray, isn't it?
Royale flashed on my screen and I started celebrating when suddenly my microphone crackled. "You're trash. You got lucky." It was the player I just eliminated. I replied, "Shut up, nerd." But then he said, "My dad works for Microsoft. I'm getting you banned." I just laughed, "Whatever, buddy," and loaded up another game. But right as I was about to open my...
I remember when everybody say like, "My dad's the owner of Roblox," but now that's not a flex now.
first chest, a "You've been kicked" notice appeared on my screen. I just shrugged and thought it was a glitch, but when I tried to start a new match, my screen flashed, "This account is banned." I got slightly worried, and when I backed out, my whole Xbox account was locked. I couldn't play anything. My heart dropped, and suddenly I heard my mom shouting from her office, "What is going on?" I ran in and saw her frantically typing her work password for the 100th time. She was crying. "I'm closing the deal in 20 minutes. This is the biggest payday of my career, and for some reason my account is banned." I went pale, as I remembered my whole family used the same Microsoft account. If the kid's dad banned me, he banned my whole family. Mom asked if I knew what was happening, but I gulped and just shook my head no, my hands shaking. I slipped out into the hallway, and that's when I remembered my history assignment worth 40% of my grade, due at midnight. It was already done, I just needed to submit it. I pulled out my phone and opened the Gmail app to send the assignment, but a giant red "account suspended" tag stared me in the face. My face dropped as I slid down the wall, and my eyes filled with tears when I heard the front door slam open.
Why would everybody use the same Microsoft account?
Dad came home, his face white and eyes red. He said, "My Microsoft business account is banned. I can't pay my employees, and I..."
So everybody has the same account. It's his business account, but then everybody get the same emails and stuff.
"I can't pay my distributor." He threw an invoice on the table. "If I don't pay my distributor within 3 hours, I'm getting sued for 60 grand. He started rocking back and forth, clutching his chest. I started crying.
So is he just trying to say don't be
Because Mom's life changed.
This is not happening, no. This is never gonna happen.
Payday, Dad's business, and my own grade were all ruined because I told some kid on Fortnite to shut up. I bolted upstairs and turned on my Xbox, my hands shaking. The ban notice popped up, but I saw my recent players widget was loaded in the corner, and the kid's gamertag was still there. I wiped my tears and opened Instagram, searching the gamertag. He came up instantly.
Yo, this is not gonna be on Instagram. There's not gonna be somebody using the same profile picture and thingy as they do on Fortnite
character as his profile picture. I typed the most desperate apology I'd ever written. "You're the GOAT. I'm so sorry for calling you a nerd. Please tell your dad to unban me. My family is going to lose everything." I hit send, fully regretting my life choices. I pressed the trigger on...
Yeah, but did he ever give the money back?
I gave my class
unban him.
5 minutes to confess, or they were all getting
hello, the person who just joined the stream.
Suspended. I was bluffing. I'd spotted what looked like a mango vape in the hallway trash between periods. Our school cameras hadn't worked in years, and I figured scaring them was the fastest way to find out who it belonged to. I locked the door, slammed my hands on my desk
You
to
can't just lock your students in a classroom. I mean, unless it's like a school shooting and stuff. But yeah.
And told them the principal already knew what one of them did. My star student knocked over her pumpkin spice latte. "What do you mean suspended?" 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Silence. Then Adam, one of my nerdiest students, shot up so fast his chair crashed to the floor behind him. "Okay, I'll confess. I've been stealing clothes from the lost and found in the staff room when no one's looking and reselling all of it on eBay."
Why would he hasn't even said what it is, and he's just
I used the money to
for something that he's not even looking at.
Buy Pokemon cards.
Yo, and it's for Pokemon cards. Bro.
Layla screamed, "You've been stealing from Lost and Found?" Adam whipped around on her. "Shut up, Layla. Your family should be locked up. You're not even enrolled in this school. You're supposed to be at Westbrook, but you won't go there because it's more dangerous." Layla sat down and didn't say another word. None of this was what I was looking for. 3 minutes. That's when Abigail, the quiet girl who'd been in a wheelchair since September, grabbed both armrests and stood up. For the first time ever. The room gasped so hard it felt like the air got sucked out. "I can't do this anymore. I'm not disabled. I don't have autism. I've been faking it since September because..."
Why would he do that?
"I didn't want to run in PE. Someone..."
Yo, all of this not to run in PE is insane.
Shrieked, "You've been in a wheelchair for 4 months. I play soccer 3 times a week outside of school. I just hate the coach here." Adam was shaking now. "We did a fundraiser for you. We raised $800 and gave it to you. Where is it?" Abigail didn't answer that. I was gripping my desk so hard my knuckles hurt because this had gone so far past what I expected that I didn't know what to do anymore. 2 minutes. The linebacker in the back row swallowed hard. "If we're all confessing, then I guess it's my turn." time. Remember when Mr. Holloway got fired last year for having fentanyl in his locker? Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Did you plant that? I whispered. He nodded. He gave me a D on every paper. I just wanted him gone. I didn't think he'd actually get fired. Adam screamed, "You ended a man's career. You're running a black market out of the lost and found." Two kids pulled out their phones. This needs to be filmed. I'd walked in here looking for a vape.
Bro. This would never happen in real life. Some crazy things would happen, but not this.
And now I was sitting on theft, enrollment fraud, insurance fraud, and destroying an innocent teacher's career. Then Josh in the corner raised his hand. I've been living in the ceiling.
What the freak?
I stared at him. The ceiling? My parents think I'm at boarding school. I just come here. Time's up, Mia sobbed. What else could there possibly be? I reached into my desk and held up the vape. Dead silence. Every mouth shut. Abigail, still standing next to her empty wheelchair, squinted at it from across the room. Sir, I don't think that's a vape. I looked down at it, turned it over slowly in my hands, read the small
Oh my god, and bro, how dumb are all of these people? They're confessing all of the crimes they've done, and then this guy thinks it's a vape when it's a flippin' inhaler.
Print on the side. It was an inhaler. I stared at it for a long time, then looked up at my class full of criminals and said, "My bad." Nobody laughed. I put the inhaler in my pocket and picked up the phone to call the principal for real this time. I gave my class 5 minutes to confess, or they were. Everyone at our school knew Luis was a drug dealer. He didn't even try to hide it.
Bro, that's a crazy start to the
The cops would pull him over for just existing, and whenever they caught kids with something, they'd instantly search him. But every time they did, they never caught him with anything. Police would show up and rip his locker open, pat him down, and he just laughed at them every time. One time, someone spread a rumor that it was in a locker nobody used, so they cut locks off every single locker. Still, they found nothing.
Instead of that, can't they just get all the locks?
They had literally no idea what to do. Every time they caught them with something, they'd say, "I bought this from Luis." He'd even tell them to. Our principal was furious until he figured it out. Over Christmas break, his son asked for shoes with a secret compartment in them, and it hit him. It immediately clicked. The first day back at school, he immediately called Luis into the office, and the second he walked in, the principal said, "Take off your shoes." Luis's eyes went wide, and our principal stood there. He knew he had them. Now, he had no choice, and took them off. Our principal was literally shaking with excitement, and the second he saw the shoes, his face lit up.
Why are you excited to find flipping drugs?
He was right. Luis's shoes had hidden compartments in them. He knew he had him, but when he pushed them open, he was confused. They were completely empty, and Luis was laughing his ass off. "What is this? Where are they?" And Luis thought it was so funny. He told him he just got back from vacation. He didn't take any orders yet. Everyone at our school knew. I woke up late for school, and it saved my life. Our power went out one night, so my mom's alarm clock didn't go off in the morning. She shook me awake, freaking out, saying I was about to miss the bus, but there was no way I was making it in time. My sister was so mad she couldn't do her makeup in time, but just then someone knocked on the door, and the second she opened it, some guy said he was my substitute bus driver for the day. I could see our
substitute bus driver. Bro, we get different bus drivers every day, but then they come back and they're like 20 minutes late. But I guess it might be different in America.
Regular bus, and some of my friends on it, but she just told him she was gonna drive me today. But as soon as she said that, I could see him start to look agitated. "No ma'am, your son is coming with me." My sister, still mad at my mom, just got up and walked past before she could stop her. I could see my mom starting to get uncomfortable, but my friends were waving to us from the bus. "He's coming with me," but she cut him off. "No, I'm driving him," and she shut the door in his face.
I mean, fair enough, but in America, did the buses come up to your front door? Because we just go to a bus stop.
She watched out the window as he finally left, but right before we were gonna leave, another bus pulled up. My mom looked into the bus window and saw that it was our normal driver, and in that moment she completely freaked out. She ran inside immediately, picking up our phone. "Please, I need police now. My daughter is being kidnapped." I turned around and saw it was our normal bus driver. She was losing it, calling other parents not to let their kids get on, because someone got a bus exactly like ours to kidnap us. Unfortunately, 6 other kids did get on, and we never saw them again.
6?
I woke up.
I mean that's still people, but like I thought it'd be more.
Late for school, and it saved my life. Our power went out one night, so my mom's alarm clock didn't go off in the A girl named Madison bumped into me in the hallway, and my science project I was carrying dropped and cracked on the floor. I'd spent 4 weeks making my own organic stain remover spray, and now the liquid was all over the floor. I quickly grabbed the bottle to save what was left, and Madison looked down at me and laughed. Guess your stupid project is ruined. Mine's way better anyway. See you in the gym. She laughed and walked off. I carried my project to the gym and started super gluing the bottle of my spray together. But Madison sat at the table next to me and laughed at me trying to repair my project. She announced, "This was so easy if you're actually smart. I barely spent 20." I was closing our McDonald's when a guy built like a delivery truck started pounding on the glass.
Yo, you can't make fun of people that are fat.
Cracked the door to say, "We're closed, buddy. Come back tomorrow." But he walked straight through me into the lobby and yelled his order at the empty store. "Get me 10 burgers, 7 fries, and 5 Coke
Okay,
Zero."
that is a. I take that back. That's a load. That's too much.
Pushing him back out. "Buddy, the grill is turned off. Come back tomorrow." But he pushed me back and I went flying over the counter. Then he grabbed the counter with both hands and something metal on his wrist clacked against it. "You don't understand. I will die without my burgers."
What?
My limbs trembled and I backed toward the kitchen, but he followed me and
Why is he working at McDonald's in the first
yelled
place?
his order again. 10 burgers, 7 fries, 5 Coke Zero. But then my manager stepped out from behind the grill. He was part-time Mr. Olympia and a full head bigger than the guy. He walked up until they were chest to chest and glared at the customer. "We're closed. Get out or I'll throw you out." But the guy didn't move. "My burgers. Give me my burgers or I'll die." My manager backed him all the way into the glass and he was still begging for the food.
What if he ruled out he has a medical thing on there?
And that's when I noticed he was sweating through his shirt in a cold lobby. His hands shook so hard the
Why's
metal
he got green sweat?
band on his wrist rattled against the glass. So I thought to myself, nobody begs for food like this unless something's truly wrong. That's when the big guy took 3 huge breaths and just dropped. He slammed onto the floor and cracked our tiles and our manager gasped.
Yo, you can-
I ran over and knelt down to check on him, and I finally noticed what was on his wrist. It was a medical bracelet with the words, "Need daily burgers. Feed me if I pass out." I couldn't believe his words about dying if he didn't get his burgers were actually true. So I grabbed a half-eaten burger from a nearby table
You can't just get to. I mean, it will save him, but
and shoved it down his mouth. Then I opened my phone and dialed 911 while my manager fired up the grill behind me and started making those 10 burgers, 7 fries, and 5 Coke
the manager's doing it. Why can't? I mean, he's a manager.
Zero. I was closing our McDonald's when
But I guess it would be nice because you're saving a person. So
I was babysitting for the richest family in LA when the mom called.
how much money did he make from this? Like, not this channel, but like, how much money do you think he would have been paid in real life? For like, I mean, in this for sure, how much would he be paid to do it for the richest family?
Grab my daughter and run to the safe room, now. And before I could ask anything, the front door slammed open. Her mom was still on the phone. The safe room is hidden in the living room. Pull the red book on the shelf. Do not come out until I call you again. I grabbed Emily and yanked the red book. The shelf swung open, and I pulled Emily inside with no idea of what would happen next. The window was a one-way glass, so I could see them, but they couldn't see us. I put an index finger over my lips. Shh, she nodded silently. 3 men sneaked in wearing all black, eyes darting around the room. The mom texted, "Keep silent, or they will kill you both." They went through every drawer, while a man peered into the watch collection worth thousands of dollars and didn't take a thing. Whatever they'd broken in for, it wasn't money. Then his hand slid along our bookshelf, searching for a hidden lever. I put my hand over Emily's mouth and held my breath until it moved on. Then the man stopped dead in the hallway, and he whispered, "Layla." He searched the room desperately. "Layla, baby, where are you?" I froze in confusion. Who were they looking for? Emily's head came off my chest, and she whispered, "Daddy." My phone lit up again. "Do not open that door." I pressed my face to the glass, and the man searching for her was crying. Emily started screaming, "Daddy, we're in here!" and clawing at the door. She tugged on my sleeve. "Open it, please!" I pulled the latch, and Emily ran into his arms. The man dropped to his knees and held her. "Layla, my Layla, I've got you, I've got you." He turned to me and put his hand on my shoulder. "This family kidnapped Layla a year ago and carried her across the state. I've been looking for her ever
That's crazy.
since." I gasped. That safe room was never built to keep danger out. It was built to keep Layla in. I was babysitting for the richest
That's not nice. Wouldn't Emily have just told
family
them
in
about
LA.
it though?
I'm walking through a street in Vietnam on holiday when I notice a little kid eating Doritos, but when I look closer, I drop to my knees because something is seriously wrong. His mom is next to him on her phone, an old man is feeding pigeons, and nobody sees the covered up landmine under the kid's shoe.
Yo! How would nobody notice and that on the floor?
Set to explode the second he lifts his foot. I rush over and crouch slowly so I don't scare him, my heart pounding. He lifts his head and smiles with orange fingers. I tell him, "Hey buddy, please listen and don't move a muscle. Just look down." He looks and his face instantly crumples as he starts screaming. The bag of Doritos drops from his hand, and when his mom notices, the color drains from her face and she backs away. The old man stumbles back while the kid cries, "This can't be real," as the landmine glows red under him. I panic, sweat beating down my head, wondering how to get him to safety when any movement results in his eternal sleep. That's when a crazy idea comes to me. I stand up and flail my arms. "I need help, over here." People look and realize what's happening, grabbing their heads in horror, but I just shout the plan, my voice steady. Strangers start scattering, sprinting into apartment doorways and restaurants, then running out with knives. They swarm the biggest tree around while the kid hyperventilates.
Oh, what? I read chat. Sorry. You haven't said anything in chat, buddy.
His foot rattling, but then a pigeon waddles over. I notice the breadcrumbs on the landmine, and my chest goes cold as the pigeon hops right on it. It starts shoving its head at the kid's leg to get the crumb, and the kid shrieks. He jerks his knee, screaming, "I'm afraid of pigeons," and I watch his heel start to lift off the dirt. The mine beeps louder, ready to explode. I dive and swat the bird away, and the kid stomps his foot back down and sobs. That's when the crowd comes running. They're all carrying a branch thick as my leg, and line it up right over his foot. I grip the kid's shoulder and tell him to breathe, as they lower the branch onto the mine. The second it settles, I say, "Now," and watch with my teeth chattering as the kid slowly begins raising his foot. His shoe lifts. I brace, and nothing happens. The branch holds the mine. The kid trembles and scoops up his fallen bag of Doritos, shoveling them in his mouth with shaking hands to calm down. I back away from the branch on the mine and look around at all the strangers who risked their life to help. I'm walking through a street in Vietnam on holiday when I notice during my barbecue.
That's pretty crazy.
My wife asked me, "Why is that strange man cradling our baby?" The bearded man made goofy sounds at our baby, as if he belongs there.
What the freak?
We walked over.
Well, if you're good enough parents, you should notice. Like what?
And I asked him to put her down. He said, "Nah, I don't think so." I told him to put her down right now. He shook his head, smiled and said, "Today is going to end really badly for both of you, and there is nothing you can do about it." We were speechless. My friends formed a semicircle, shocked. He looked at my wife and said, "Does the name Jack69 mean anything to you?" It took her a second, then it clicked. 2 years ago, someone called pretending to be the IRS. My wife figured out the scam fast, tracked the number through my uncle's FBI contacts and reported him. He got arrested, 6 months in prison. Dad, pull over to that yard sale. They're selling a lamp worth $1,000 for
$1,000?
My son's.
How does he know that though?
Said, pointing out the window. I laughed. "You're 9 years old. How could you know that?" He immediately pulled out his phone and
Yo, why is he just like randomly looking on eBay?
showed me the exact same lamp selling on eBay for $1,200. See, when I pulled over, he ran out to buy it and made $990. I was really impressed, and that's when he said something that shocked me. "By the end of this year, I'm going to be making more money than you." I didn't know what he meant, and the next day, he showed me a printed list of 15 yard sales happening that morning. "Dad, I organized this list so we could go to all of them. These things are a gold mine." I grabbed the list and saw he'd sorted them by zip code so we could hit them in the most efficient order. I knew he wasn't kidding, because around his waist was a bag that had a spiral notebook, a calculator, and a small magnifying glass. He was fully equipped to spend all day looking for items to resell at a higher price, and I wasn't going to be the one to tell him no. "Let's get started." At the first sale, he walked past the furniture and went straight to a box of.
What do you mean? Yes, you can. You can hear me right now. You can hear me.
Old dishes. He picked up a pink mixing bowl, flipped it upside down, ran his finger over a stamp on the bottom, and handed the woman $5.
What do you mean?
Kidding.
Hello? 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 Oh, it's quiet. Oh. Okay, my bad. I have it very close now.
When she wasn't looking, he wrote down the profit in his notebook. Paid $5 for the pink mixing bowl. It was worth $92. The profit was $87. The whole time I thought it was just some childhood hobby. But within a week, he'd sold every single item he found. My 9-year-old had turned $60 into $430, and this was just the beginning. The next weekend, he walked into a flea market room and saw a small oil painting leaning against a bookshelf. The price tag said $30. He turned it over. On the back was a sticker from a gallery in Boston and a number written in pencil. He looked extremely shocked, like it was the best thing he'd found so far. "Dad, this is going to change our lives." Before I could ask what he meant, he walked up to the woman running the sale, held up the painting, and said, "This is really nice. Can I have it for $15? She looked at it for 2 seconds. $20 and it's yours. He paid her in cash from an envelope he'd started carrying specifically for this. When we were alone in the car, he handed me the painting and told me to look up the artist who painted it. I did. His paintings sold at real auction houses for between $4,000 and $6,000.
$4,000 and $6,000. That's pretty crazy.
Did you know how much it was worth when you offered her the money? He shrugged. I wasn't sure, but I had nothing to lose. Because if I was wrong, I would lose $20. If I was right, I wouldn't. The next week, he took the painting to a real auction house. They confirmed it was authentic and bought it from him for $4,200.
Ooh, that's good.
Check arrived, he cashed it, came home, and set his notebook on the kitchen table between us.
Yo!
Dad.
My mic is fine! My mic is fine, bro. My mic is fine, bro. What are you on about? Go away!
I told you I'd make more money than you by the end of the year.
Bro.
It's December. I did it. Then he flipped to the next page, which means we need to talk about quarterly taxes. You owe $1,400 to the IRS because the eBay account is in your name. I already did the math. Dad, pull over to that.
Damn. I'm gonna end the stream there, so I've laughed, so I have to go now. Okay, bye-bye. No, it's just because I was watching the stream, that's what happened. Go away, I'm ending.